constituent that came in. I was like, hold on. Call we'll return to session as the Board of Equalization. Shannon.
Okay, so we don't have anybody that is scheduled to come in or wanted to come in this morning. We have, I think, 7 of them this afternoon. We moved a couple to the afternoon so we could, we thought we were going to not do anything at all this morning. So what we'll do from 11 to 12 is just all those recommendations that we have where the property owner's not going to show up. And it's my thought we start at the top of the schedule and go all the way down through morning and afternoon, skipping those people that are going to show up in the afternoon. So today should be just one after another,
Okay.
Starting with Aldrin.
So Aldrin is an omit where this was a split and I put the house on the wrong parcel, so we've removed it from the one that it was on, and we just need to add it to this parcel.
Yeah, okay, let me interrupt. Deb just pointed out that the board has already acted on all of these that are the omits, and this was just in case those property owners wanted to show up and argue, and they haven't. So we've already got it in the minutes. Okay, so Aldrin, Keister, NEC Low Income Housing, Jacob Roher, McLaughlin, Lopez, and Schmidt, you've already acted on.
McLaughlin,
And
Peterson.
Lopez,
And
Peterson.
and Schmidt.
So Shannon, can you remind us what omit is again?
Okay, so it's properties that after we'd mailed out assessment notices that we found out we missed. One of them was a house that we found out was there that we didn't know about. So we asked the board to increase the value of the property for the house. A couple of them were properties that had split. They started with a 10-acre parcel and replatted into 2 5s. The 10-acre parcel doesn't exist anymore, but we need to get the 2 5s on the tax roll. And we didn't get that done for whatever reason before we mailed assessment notices. So it's property omitted from the tax roll we're asking the board to add. And you already acted on it, and I apologize. I forgot. We'd already done that. This was in case those property owners wanted to come in and argue that value. But we've contacted them, and they're okay with it, so they're not coming in. And then there's no point in going over them again. You've already done it. So.
Can you go over those again? The ones that you just mentioned?
Right down the list.
Yep.
Richard Aldrin, Bill Keister, NEC Low Income Housing, Jacob Roher, Madison McLaughlin, Wilmar Lopez, Gerald and Judith Schmidt. Okay, Piper is a regular appeal, will be in this afternoon.
Okay.
And then Ed and Tammy Davis, regular appeal, be in this afternoon. Lindell and Jill Peterson is another omitted property.
Davis got them. Lindell's.
What about Hendrickson and Rushmore Goldtown?
Let's start with that then. Yeah, instead of starting at the top, since you've already acted on those, let's start with J. and Elaine Hendrickson. And then we've got Rushmore Goldtown, and then we'll skip to the afternoon schedule and do all of those.
Okay, hold on just a second.
Now,
Just a second.
remember, we've got to do Christine Piper and Ed and Tammy Davis. We will still do those this afternoon. Those are the 2 we rescheduled for the afternoon.
Way at the end. Yeah, like the last 4 pages, 5, 6, 7 pages, something like that.
The reason for all of the papers is when we're working with a property owner on an appeal, we give you everything they give us. Some of it might not be relevant, but you've got everything they gave us.
So we're on Hendrickson now?
Yes. And Kara, you've got all those omitted properties in the minutes, so
Huh?
you got all those
Sorry.
omitted properties in the minutes, you're good?
From the first day. Uh-huh.
Okay,
We're doing Hendrickson?
yes.
Okay. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay,
Everybody ready for the Hendrickson?
Ready?
Jay has something to say on that then.
Jay McKinstry, Equalization. It's tax ID 54588. Hendrickson in Hill City, 198 Rainbow Ridge Court. The Hill City Board lowered to 359,800. And I'm recommending bringing the assessment back to our 365,300, which is 60,900 on land, 304,400 for structure.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Roskinek?
can you just explain your rationale?
Sure. The Hill City Board lowered just her land back to last year's value, and then myself and another appraiser in the office went and visited the site with Elaine and explained to her that we raise land in her neighborhood for everyone. And that's why her land had gone up, and we did, walk the property, and there was nothing that was any different with her property than any of the other properties. So she understood that we would have to go back to what we're at so that it's equal in the whole neighborhood.
I was just curious if there were any sales in that area, on that
I-
Prospect Mountain.
I didn't go over that information, actually. Another assessor in the office did the land in that neighborhood. I'm new to that neighborhood, and so another assessor in the office did do that, so I don't have that
Well, when I get back to my
information.
office, I'll send you guys a couple more sales that
Okay.
you want to use in the future.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner LaCroy?
I'd make a motion for 365, 300.
Got a motion and a second to take it back to the original 365-3.
Yep.
Further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Rushmore Gold Town's next.
Good morning, Commissioners. Dawn Puckett, Equalization Office. The next four parcels are all from the Keystone Local Board, changes that they made that we reviewed in the office, and I have recommendations for each of the four. So the first
Them
one.
all one? You're doing
Well,
them all one or
well,
separate?
They'll have to be separate.
Okay,
But
perfect.
I'm just going to talk about four.
You have four different parcels?
So the first one, the parcel ID is 8011541. And this is a mobile home. There's no land with it.
Todd, just a second.
Okay.
You only have, I think we only have two,
That's all I have is two.
Yeah, all I've got is two as well.
only got
Yeah.
two. Four, Deb? or-
Well, there's two Rushmore Gold Town. What I mean is, and so I've confused you, I apologize. I also have Mr. Przinski and Grizzly Creek LLC, and these are all from the local Keystone Board. So I've confused them. I'm sorry.
No, it just,
Do we got four numbers here?
No, it's these two,
And then it's
and
the
then,
Brzezinski.
and then this one and this one.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
two. You said four.
Well, 1, 2.
Yeah, okay, let's just do two right now.
Okay, all right. So Rushmore Gold Town, the mobile home, 8011541.
Okay.
Okay. The 2021 assessment on this mobile home was 10,200. The local board reduced it down to 8,700. I contacted the owner and I was able to get inside and do an interior review. And based on the condition, I have a recommendation to set the value at $4,700.
so moved.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. Motion from Commissioner LaCroy, second from Lassiter. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
The next one is parcel 6889, also owned by Rushmore Goldtown. The original assessment mailed out at $54,700. The local board reduced the value to $37,500. And I was able to set up a time to go out and view this property as well. And with some data updates and also consideration for some condition issues on the interior of the structure, because it does look very, it looks cared for from the outside. I am just recommending that we uphold the local board value of $49,100. That's $11,600 on the land and $37,500 on the buildings.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Lassiter, second by Commissioner Hadcock, to approve at the 49,100. Further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, Don, what's the other two things that we
Okay.
don't have?
The next one is parcel 62505.
Or do we find those in the afternoon packet? Is that where,
Yes.
Okay.
Which one?
and the name is gonna be what?
It's Jerry Shabilsky, and it's spelled PRZYBYLSKI.
Jerome?
Should be the first one.
Okay, we got it.
How about, where's the second one? The next one?
The next one is Grizzly Creek Llc.
Okay. It's immediately after it in my packet.
Okay, yep, I got both those.
What it-
Everybody got it?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Shabilsky's property, at tax ID 62505. The original assessment mailed out at $223,800. The local board did reduce this, and after a conversation and reviewing the property information with the owner, I am asking that we uphold the local board's recommendation. They reduced it to $216,900. So that is $14,900 on the land and $202,000 on the structure.
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Lassiter and a second from Commissioner LaCroy. Any further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. You go ahead on the next.
Okay. The last parcel, the owner is Grizzly Creek LLC. The tax ID is 67801. This is a landlocked parcel on the south edge of Keystone Town. The original assessment mailed out at $86,600. The local board reduced it to $17,600, and I am making a recommendation that we uphold the local board's value of $17,600. It's bare land, there's no building.
So
moved.
Don, can I ask
Sure.
a question?
Commissioner
Yes.
Hadcock.
So you went from 86,000 to 17,000?
Yes.
Okay,
So once I had a chance to actually try to get to this property, I didn't have a lot of luck. It's on the south end is a very, very steep grade, which might be the only chance for the current owner to put a road in, but it's, the grade would be, probably make it cost prohibitive. It's steep terrain, landlocked by Forest Service, a creek, other parcel owners who don't want to grant access. There's just multiple issues with this. If they were ever overcome, I think my assessed value was probably low because it's got a really nice view of Mount Rushmore once you get up there, but getting up there is the issue.
thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner.
how many acres is that? I don't,
It is 11.37 acres.
and your recommendations, 17,500 or?
17.6 is what the local board set it at, and I just said we would leave it there.
Is there a motion?
Think they move for approval.
Got a motion from Commissioner LaCroy. Second? Second from Commissioner Hadcock. Further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
David and Andrea Allard is next on the schedule. David and Andrea Allard.
The right in line.
Yep, it's the next one.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Trevor Abernathy with the Equalization Office. Received an email from Mr. Allard this morning indicating that he was going to not pursue the appeal, withdraw, and was not coming this morning. I'm recommending, it's on tax ID 8470. It's located at 12350 West Highway 44. Recommending no change to the original assessment at 203,200 on the land and 70,900 on the improvements for a total of 274,100.
So moved.
I've got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hadcock, second by Commissioner LaCroy.
Mr. Chair,
For the 274-100, Commissioner Ross Connect.
I just want to, is this the little mobile home park that
Yes.
you're valuing?
Correct.
So what constitute the improvement on that parcel?
The improvement on that parcel is primarily going to be the mobile home hookups. So it's going to be the utility hookups and then also the carports that are on that. There's also a little 12 by 12 shed and another almost detached garage. It's another 12 by 12 shed with an overhead door.
Is that the garage, like a 6-car garage or something like that?
There is a large garage there that's actually assessed with one of the mobile homes.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
None here.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Somebody lives in a trailer house and has a 6-car garage. I could live like that.
Me too.
Okay, next on the list is Sam Fisher and Jerry Zepp. Both of them are going to come in, so we're gonna skip down to, was it Quahoop Trust?
Do we know when they're coming in?
What? This afternoon, at 1 o'clock this afternoon.
Okay.
Quahoop Trust is also another omitted property that you've already acted on, so we're gonna skip that one as well. We'll go to the 240 block.
Mr. Chairman, Shannon, what happened to the Zepp one? Is that one going to be later too, or?
Zepp is gonna come in at 1 o'clock.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just didn't hear that.
Oh, that's all
Fisher
part
and
of
Zepp.
Fisher and Zepp.
Fisher and Zepp are the same?
No, but they're coming in at 1. Both of them are gonna come in at 1 o'clock. As well as Davis from the morning schedule. And then at 2:30, we're expecting Piper from the morning and Heidi Bell and Ferdinand Marquis. They're gonna come in this afternoon. So let's skip down to Fugro Properties. And we're gonna do Fugro, Cole, the 2 Cole properties, and then we're done.
And that Horizons is coming in?
2 from the morning and 5 from this afternoon, or
Okay,
Right.
Fugo.
Shannon?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 2 from the morning, yes.
Okay.
So we're on Fugro, you said.
We're on
Fugro, where are you at for Horizons? Kara?
So I have Horizons after Fugro, are they,
They're actually the same owner. It's 2 different parcels, but they are the same owner.
got it, so we're doing them together.
Yes.
I got it, I'm all there now.
I'm still looking for
I am doing.
Burger.
Fugro, yep.
How far down are you?
Gonna be
Okay.
tearing into
That's
the
why I
desk here
put,
pretty
there's
soon.
that one in there.
Bird. 925. Geez, someone's got a book on
Our
theirs.
next one's Fugo, the 2 of his, right?
Correct.
Fugro, right.
Right in the middle, Ron.
It's this far down, Ron.
Yeah,
I think I'm getting,
went past it.
And then we are doing Cole right now?
See how thick
Okay.
my packet is? I think we went past
These
it,
minutes
Ron.
are gonna be fun to put together.
Look about in the middle, Ron.
I will say, if you pull off the last 2 sheets, that's one of the last ones we're going to look at, and it pulls out the.
I went through mine and stapled it.
What parcel is this gonna be?
This will be parcel 59443.
So did you say Crier and Fugro are the same?
The two companies are Fugro and Horizons. David Cryer was the tax rep that I dealt with.
Oh, okay.
Horizons, you said? Right. Horizons too?
Yes.
There.
Oops. All right.
We're doing this one first. And then
I got it.
Horizons.
Oh, Shannon, do you have a list of, like, this afternoon, is the email, is that the order this afternoon? The email, so I can go right off that.
Yeah, we'll just go straight down unless somebody's not here and we skip over them.
And then I can, but for the most part, what you sent tonight.
Mine was beyond that, part of it.
So I went through this morning.
Oh, that's what that means?
Yeah, you
Oh,
sucker.
shoot, I probably should have read the whole thing.
Could have done it for all of us.
No kidding. That's,
That helps, cause of going through each one.
no,
That's a book right there. We
Yeah, I
had to-
found it all behind all those pictures and those names and stuff.
We're gonna have to have you put these in binders and then put a name on the side for them. See, that's what planning had to do, because we started. Ron, he's usually bindering his stuff, so he's usually ahead of this, before us.
If you'd have read through it all last night, you'd have been more familiar with where everything's at.
The only reason why I could find that one is because I bent it last night. I bent the section. I was like, okay, this is this one.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll help these guys. What I did is I went through them and I stapled each one together, so then they're not, cause I had that problem Monday, I was
Yeah. So you went through them last night,
maybe.
ahead of time, yeah.
Might have been the night before.
Right,
Might have been.
For the next one.
Deb was in Deadwood. She didn't have any time.
well, you know, I found Fernando.
And then Horizons.
And how thick's Fernando?
We're not doing Fernando right now, though.
It's the one after Fernando,
Yeah.
Ferdinand.
How many pages is Fernando?
Like this?
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't count them for you, Ron. 35, 50, somewhere in there.
He gave us a lot of
Ish.
stuff.
Davis has a
Huh?
lot too this afternoon.
Oh, about 100 pages?
I'm gonna get those out before I get confused this afternoon.
Well,
This
yeah.
afternoon's gonna be fun.
But you print out front and back. Oh, no, you
I
didn't.
got two there for this
didn't.
afternoon. I'll be ready.
I was just guessing.
Fisher Zepp.
Should be soon after that.
Man, I meant the,
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're ready.
All right, good morning, Board. Rod Sletton with DOE. So we're looking at the Fugro property, and again, that's tax ID 59443. This is a hangar, so it's structure only, there's no land. We do have an agreement with the value at the $1,676,700. and that's my recommendation.
Okay, I don't have that number on mine.
I got 168,100.
Can you repeat that number?
The recommended value is 1,676,700. And it's essentially, it's last year's value. This property had some damage. We had noted that it had been repaired. I did a tour with the manager of the building, and it's a very temporary repair. Then they plan to do more repair to it, so we went to last year's value.
So where did the 1,681,100, where'd that come from?
That was the original valuation. The assessment went out as that value.
Okay. And so you're reducing it? Is this, is the property owner here?
No.
Is the property owner satisfied with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Move for approval.
Second.
I got a motion by Commissioner LaCroy, second by Commissioner Lassiter. Further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
The next parcel is 41480, and this is also owned by the same company, so I dealt with the same tax rep there. My recommendation is to make no change, supporting our original value of 146,100.
So is this another hangar?
Yes, it is.
So moved.
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. Commissioner Hadcock and Commissioner LaCroy. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay. Morning, this is
Is
after.
there another one on a 59943?
No, that was the first one, so we're done with those two.
Okay,
The
so
next one-
this is a wrong number that was put on this one then apparently.
I'm not
First
sure.
one was 59443. And I've
Correct.
got one here that says 59943.
I don't know about that number.
Have that number.
You have that
Don't
number?
Have that number.
Okay.
Now we're going to Coal MT Rapid City.
Cool.
And we're doing each one separate.
Look at that,
On the
right
pool.
there.
So this is Rushmore Crossing.
Look at that.
And there are 10 parcels with this. We do have an agreement with the owner for the current valuation. I do have a breakdown of each individual parcel, and I can hand that out if you want to see the details on each one. What we could do is do a motion for all of them. I guess that's up to you, but I do have a detail that I can hand out if you want to look at how it's all broken down.
Okay, so this is all under the same ownership?
Okay.
Yeah, 10 parcels. So if he goes down through each one of them, then it could be just one motion and vote unless you want to pull out
Thank you.
some of them and act on them individually. But there's 10 parcels under appeal. And this is Rushmore Crossing.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Roskinick.
before we get started, they came to you about their assessed value, then was it based on rent and vacancy and expenses and income and?
Yes. So when we initially got the appeal notice, they had indicated that they were in the middle of selling Rushmore Crossing, and they wanted a reduction based on basically just their offer. And I was not willing to move on our value until I saw more information. I wanted it to actually close. I wanted some more income data. So it took quite a while to get all of that. It just closed in April. The original offer was, I believe, back in October of 2020. And so once we got the closing information and I got some financial data, I interviewed one of the local realtors that does the commercial leasing for that, just to make sure that everything made sense and looked good. So then I developed a on the second page is where you see how I broke down the income analysis. So there I'm using market rents. I'm not using their actual rents. I kind of discussed with Chris Long, the realtor that does a lot of their leasing, what some of the market rents and market vacancies for those properties are. Basically, we've seen a loss in valuation in some of the really big box retail stuff. So this property has Shields and it had the Gordmans, which has been vacant for a while. Those are the two biggest, are over 50,000 square feet. And so just in the market in general, we saw a loss in value in some of those big box retail stores. And we had some other changes that we've already worked through this year for other properties that were also big box that we saw a reduction in value.
So these properties would basically comprise Rushmore Crossing, and if you looked at the deed in that transfer, the legal description of each one of these properties would probably be on that one deed as one transaction.
Yes, yep, it's all in one deed.
I mean, we can go over each one, but I would make the recommendation that we go with your adjusted value.
Okay.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Carrie, you good with that?
Yes, I got a little cheat sheet.
Okay, I didn't want to go too fast.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's all the recommendations we have. Now, this afternoon, we've got at 1 o'clock, we've got Davis, Fisher, Zepp that are planning on coming in at 1. And then at 2:30, we'll have Piper, Heidi Bell, Ferdinand, and Dowling at 2:30.
Say the afternoon?
Starting at 1, I've got Davis, Fisher, Zepp. That's from 1 to 2:30. And then at 2:30, I've got Piper, Heidi Bell, Ferdinand, and Patrick Dowling.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I do have one other thing I told an attorney I would present to the board.
Okay.
The Board of Equalization approves or denies all applications for exemption. We had a property that was purchased by the county, North Rapid. The former Health and Human Services building was purchased by Great Plains Tribal Leaders Health Board. The auditor is going to add it to the tax roll for part of the year that they owned it. And working on that will be done at the end of the week. I got an email from Charles Aberesk, who is their general counsel, and he didn't know that they had to apply for an exemption to be exempt from property tax. So just this morning, I get an application from them. It's way late because it's supposed to be November 1st and didn't have it. They are probably an exempt entity and will be exempt from property taxes. But what I told him is, since he missed the deadline for the application, the property will be added as taxable for this year. And then next year, he can go through the application process and ask for an abatement. The law will allow a property to ask for an abatement for a previous year when they're an exempt entity. But at present, they're not because they haven't applied.
But they
So-
can get the money back.
Yeah.
They can get it back.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that would be the proper procedure. I have an email and their application if anyone would like to read it. But that's what I told him. I would present it to the board. The application is late, and the abatement will probably be the more proper way to do this, especially since you had 2 other late applications you denied.
Anybody have any comment relative to that?
The only comment I'd say is that with that property, the way things are, that's understandable because the way things went towards the end. And Charlie, from my understanding, this is a new position for him, so he's not familiar with application processes and so
Yeah.
forth. So, I mean, although he's an attorney position with the Great Tribal Plains is a new one that he's gotten into, so he probably wouldn't have known.
Yeah, and I would suggest that that's not unusual. There are a lot of properties like that that just assume they're not going to have to pay property
Yeah.
tax and don't realize that, no, you have to actually apply and get approved by the county commissioners. It doesn't just happen.
And what was the cutoff date? November
November 1st.
1st, so
Yep.
I think we need to follow the proper procedure and then next year grant them
Yeah.
abatement.
So I hold his application that I got just this morning as an early application for the coming year.
Nice.
I don't think we need a motion for it. I think the
No.
information provided to him is correct. And
That's right. I was just,
Thank you.
because I told him that I would present it to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon.
Okay, so otherwise, we're waiting till 1 o'clock. Everybody is excited about Heidi Bell, Holly Lindahl, and we will get a phone call on that one. Just got an email to that effect, so we have 7 in the afternoon.
Okay.
Move to
So we'll
recess?
stand in recess until 1 o'clock.
Yep.
Y'all.
We'll call the board back to session, Board of Equalization. Shannon?
So how about we start with Ed and Tammy Davis that were originally scheduled in the morning?
Okay. Trevor, do you want to go ahead and?
Sure. Again, Trevor Abernathy with Equalization. We've got 3 properties here that are being appealed. The tax IDs are 70124, 70125, and 70126. Address is 12699 Kinsley Drive, Rapid City 57702. My understanding is that the owner's primary concern is that these are being assessed as 3 separate lots. Secondly, they have an issue with the value. Prior to the 2020 tax year, these 3 lots were valued as one tax parcel, and they were incorrectly assessed under tax ID 52047. In this case, that led to a value that was not accounting for the full value of each individual lot. In 2019, prior to splitting these parcels and assessing them properly, we were still valued under the now 10-year-old sale price from 2011, indicating that we may have been underassessed for years. Our office needs to assess lots individually, and this is the 2nd year that we've done so for these lots. Just to be clear, we have not changed anything legally about these lots. Legally, they're defined as Forest View Subdivision Lot 5, Forest View Subdivision Lot 6, and Forest View Subdivision Lot 7R, all of which have been in place since 7R was platted in 1986. So before board action takes, or before the board takes action on these individually, I'd kind of like to just explain what the lots are. Tax ID 70125 or Lot 6. I'll just give you a little map here so we don't get too confused.
Trevor, do you have pictures of the lots by chance? Or did-
Yeah, we should
Or where they're at?
And this will have a map on it as well. So there's a sheet for each lot there, and then on the back page, there's a map that also has the tax ID and the lot number on the map, so you know which one we're talking about. So tax ID 70125 is up here on Rapid Map, also on the back page of the map there. Here's a copy for you as well if you'd like to see. It is assessed at $2,400 on the land and $44,200 on the improvements for a total of $46,600. I'm recommending no change to this assessed value.
Which number is that one?
70125.
Okay.
This parcel is 0.41 acres and has a 28 by 42 detached garage with interior finish that was built in 1988. Due to the access for this parcel, you can see that it's access behind the other parcel there. I'm acknowledging that it would most likely sell with Lot 5, which is tax ID 70124. This is the reason the land value is so low at the $2,400. It's being valued as residual to tax ID 70124, which essentially values Lot 5 and 6 as if it were 1.75 acre parcel. Tax ID 70124 is assessed at $58,600 on the land and $14,300 on the improvements for a total of $72,900. Again, I'm recommending no change to this assessed value. This is a 0.34 acre piece with a 16 by 22 garage built in 1986. The owner expressed concern regarding this lot due to its size. There's a general rule out there that the well and septic can't be placed on a lot that's smaller than 1 acre. However, there's an administrative rule in state statute that allows for a septic and well to be placed on a smaller lot if it was platted prior to February of 1975. Both of these lots were platted in 1956. I've called the State Department of Environmental and Natural Resources to confirm that we could put a well and septic on this. I've also spoken with Planning and Zoning. It appears that you could fit a well and septic and also have a buildable area of 5,000 square feet. So this is a separate legal lot. It could be sold by itself, have residents built on it. The combined land value for lot 5 and 6 is $61,000 for 0.75 acres, and this is supported with current land sales in the area. The last one we have is the farthest one on the south there, 70126. It's lot 7R. That parcel is where the main residence is located. It's assessed at $62,700 on the land, $222,400 on the improvements, for a total of $285,100. Again, I'm recommending no change to this assessment. This is 0.95 acres, and I did request to look at the home again for this appeal. It was denied, but they were out of town. In 2019, I did an exterior inspection and had an interview with the owners. The data appears to be correct, so I don't see an issue with the data. The home was built in 1980 and is in average condition, has 1,428 square feet above grade with a 768 square foot basement, of which 668 is finished. It also has a 400 square foot attached garage. There is a shed behind the house, 12 by 20, that was built in 1980. And then there's also a little cabin on site that was built by the Boy Scouts that's in pretty poor condition that we don't have assessed. If you want to pull up the comps there, Chris, just to show what we have here, we have 5 comps that all support the value that we have on this parcel with the home. There are 3 sales that have smaller parcels than the subject property, so less land. And the first 2 comps, comp 1 and comp 2, are the best comparables here. Comp number 1 is a little bit bigger. It has a detached versus an attached garage. It is also slightly better condition. It's sold for $316,650. And then comp number 2 is a little bit smaller and a little bit worse condition, and it's sold for $262,000. We've got them assessed right in the middle at the 285-1.
So Trevor, is this the first year that they've, the lots have been assessed separately?
No. 2020 was the first year.
Oh, okay.
This was the first year they got a tax bill on
Okay.
each individual lot, but it's the second year they've been assessed separately.
Okay, and the reason for that, for doing it separately?
The reason for that, we actually should, by state statute, assess each lot individually. However, in the past, these were combined, and we didn't find it until we did a reappraisal project in the area, which we did in 2019. So they were not alone in that. Any parcel that I found in this whole neighborhood was split into individual parcels that same year.
Okay. Okay.
How many did you find like that?
32 or so.
Wow.
That's a guess, but it was in the 30s.
How many of them was one owner? Out of that,
All of them.
Out of that 32, one of them.
Yeah, because all of them that were previously combined in one tax parcel, they all had it. it had to be the same owner for that to be the case.
Okay, okay. Any questions of Trevor before we hear from the Davises?
No, but I got some for the Davises once they're done
Okay.
speaking.
My biggest concern here is we've had when we bought the house, we had one tax ID number. Okay. There's been one tax ID number for that property for over 20 years. Okay. How it became one tax ID number, I have no clue. I can't get an answer out of anybody in regards to how
It was two prior to that.
it was two prior to that, and then it was changed to one. Like I said, when we bought the property, it had one. There was two other owners prior to us, so there's three owners since. It had one tax ID number. One of the other concerns I have is they've taken the property and they divided it into three. Okay, so we have three tax ID numbers. When they divided it into three, lot 7, which is the lot with the house on it, it lost half of its land when they divided and took those other two lots. So we have less land on that property right now. And the property assesses more now than it did when it was 1.7 acres, the land does. So we've lost half the property there. And the land in 2021, you've assessed just the land at $62,700. In 2019, when it was one parcel, or maybe it wasn't. Maybe the 2019 wasn't right.
2019 was one.
It was one. It was 53,000. And then of course, like I said, they've taken half the property. The other thing is lot 6. Well, lot 5. And somewhere along the line, I'm confused on the assumption tax, because he keeps talking about, we're assuming that you can build a house on that lot that has a one-car garage on it, and that makes the property worth $58,600. It's a third of an acre. The pictures don't do it justice. Everybody in the neighborhood's on either 1 or 1.5 acres, or there's no properties up there that are smaller than an acre, other than mine now, because it was divided. I don't know. I'm just here. It's like I said, a third of an acre for $58,600. So they basically have taken and divided my property, and they've almost doubled my taxes.
Mr.
Taxes went up $3,142.46 from the prior year.
So the 2020 back taxes have gone up?
Yes. 2019, our taxes on all three pieces was $1,381.12. Now, because they split it into 3 lots, it's $4,523.58.
Mr. Sheriff.
Commissioner Roskinek.
So, Trevor, if you took all 3 parcels, what would the size be?
1.7 acres.
1 point what?
1.7?
1.7? Can you put rapid map on there and expand out a little bit so we can see what the neighboring lots are? The typical size? Because I'm thinking that the typical lot size in that area when they sold them, like if there's 3 lots and they were too small, my guess is that when you bought it, you got a warranty deed, and that warranty deed had 3 legal descriptions on there, and it was, you'd have to have, it had 1 legal description, 1 lot number. Well, it had to have 3, didn't it?
It had 3 lot numbers.
3 lot numbers.
Okay, so 3 lot numbers, but I think it was sold on that premise because that's the size of lot that people wanted when they bought those. And so with that being said, if you break those down, and I can see where the county's coming from, they want to do that, but to me, we need to keep it the way it was when you bought it and give you the right to sell it that way. These other smaller lots, to me, they're going to have I agree. Who's going to buy a lot with a garage and can't build a house? To me, they need to be kept together the same way you bought them. And then that's my position. I just don't think these little lots have the utility that the normal lot size in that subdivision would
I just
offer.
couldn't see that you could put
Exactly.
a well and a septic and a leach field on that third of an acre.
One thing I'd like to
Because
add,
of where the other two homes sit, everything has to run downhill. It's all on a hill. So there would just be no way.
one thing I'd like to add, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I came to the county planning and zoning. Tammy's parents were in bad health, and we wanted to build a mother-in-law's apartment in the 3.5 car garage. And the county told me the property was zoned for one household. And I went away. 3 years later, they divide my property and I
Tell
can
us
do
we can
whatever I
build 2 more
want.
houses.
You know, I guess my take is if you had 3 lots and they were all 1.5 acres, I could see the other 2 being, you know, they'd have access, they'd be able to build a home on there. They'd be similar to the other lots in the neighborhood. I could see that, but this here I'm having a hard time comprehending.
If I could address
Sure.
one issue here. So one of the comparable land sales that I have, it's a bit older. It's in 2015, so we're looking at 6 years old now. It's actually the lowest sale price that I have in this area. It was a 0.39 acre piece. Now it sold for $45,000 back in 2015. It now has a garage and a house built on it. So it's not, and it's not directly in this subdivision, but it is in this neighborhood, in this area. So they do exist. They do sell. 3 of the sales that I have in the comparables, one of them's 0.61 acres, one of them's 0.6 acres, and one of them's 0.54 acres. So smaller lots do exist here.
I don't disagree that they exist, but I still go under the premise that they should be assessed the way that they sold. And when these folks bought this, they bought a 1.7 acre lot, and that's the way they thought they were going to get assessed, and that's the way they built their garage. And to me, it's I'm on your side on this one.
Mr. Chairman, I'm kind of
Commissioner
leaning,
Lassiter.
I'm leaning with Ron on this one. I'm finding it hard to justify the 2 big, at least the way I'm reading it here. There's one parcel that's 58.6 for the land, one that's 2,400 for the land. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
Yes.
And then one for 62.7 for the land. I'm kind of lost in that too. So how did you come up with splitting it? Maybe I'm missing that part too. I mean, I'm new up here, but I'm just kind of trying to figure this out.
So in state statute, it indicates that we need to assess each parcel separately. In the past, we were not doing that. There's 3 parcels here. There's 3 individual lots, and we were assessing it as one. They could actually all be sold separately today, with no changes made. And as far as the 2,400 question, the lot, it is lot 6, 70125 is the tax ID. That one has some access issues. It's actually landlocked and can't be accessed except through the parcel directly in front of it. And I've acknowledged the fact that those 2 would likely sell together. So lot 5 and 6 were valued as if it were a 0.75 acre piece, with the smaller remaining amount of value on the parcel that had the inferior access.
Oh, Travis, are you done? Sorry.
Go ahead. I'm still thinking through some of this. I'm not quite.
So if they're separate land parcels, then I guess the issue would be to go to planning and zoning and say you want them to be one piece. Because then they won't be separated. They can't be sold separated.
Correct.
And it makes it one lotted piece, meaning one assessed piece. But as long as you have 3 different lots on there, and it's 3 different plats, he's right. You can, and that's why they do it. And they've done it in the past, not to be mean to you, but other people have came in and sold them separately once they've been platted. So if you wanted to solve the issue, I'd say you'd have to go to planning and zoning and say, we don't want those other 2 lots separated. Meaning, if you're saying what you're saying and you want it to be assessed that way, then you need to basically take the plat off those other 2. And you need to make it one whole parcel like you want it to be assessed, to be fair. Because again, I see it over and over again in the city and the county where people like, I should be assessed that much, and the next minute they sell their lot for $50,000. Not that you folks would do that,
Right.
but to be fair, If you did, could you get 50,000 for each lot? I don't know, sir, but bottom line is, then someone should have told you at some time. It's not Trevor's job, but somebody to tell you if you want to be assessed at one lot, then you should not have
Well, we've
three
always
platted
been
lots.
assessed at
We-
one.
We don't have a problem with that. We understand that because the other properties in that neighborhood in 1986, they did do a revision where they did 1, 2, and 3, and 4 into one. We understand that. Where I think the breakdown was is I think you're talking, this was a big thing for us. And you would think that the county would have sent us a letter and let us know what they were up to before we even having to come here and stand in front of you. I was told there was no budget for a letter. I mean, this is big, this is, life-changing for a person that owns a piece of property.
So they did this like last year too, though, didn't they?
Never let us know. We would have never found out this unless we would have.
Went to refinance the house, that's how we found out.
That's how we found out.
Trevor?
If I could address that. So when we split properties like this, we send out what we call a split letter. Now, what he's talking about not being in the budget, he requested that any letter we send out, we send certified mail. Well, if we didn't do that, it's $5 a piece. What we send out with the split letter is a courtesy letter that we send out. It's not required by law, but we say, hey, we're doing this. You might want to check with your bank. If you have any questions, give us a call. In addition to that, every year we send out assessment notices, which is our notice to the public, to all the taxpayers. And instead of getting one, they got 3. That was prior to those becoming a tax bill in 2021. So we sent notification in a split letter. I don't have a certified receipt saying that we did that, but we send that as a courtesy, and we have to send that assessment notice in the mail to everyone.
So Trevor,
Go ahead.
if these were assessed as one,
Yes.
what difference would it make on the tax assessment?
Essentially, it would be, I don't have an exact value, so I can't give you a 100% answer, but essentially, you'd be cutting the value of the land in half.
In half?
Yes.
Just the value of the land?
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. Chair. And
Commissioner Roskinen.
I agree if these 2 lots were totally vacant and they had access. Now, you got 2 lots, one doesn't have access, they both have buildings on there, and then you go to build a house, you gotta build the house around a garage. That's not right. I mean, you don't even know if you can do the building setbacks. This is just a bunch of assumptions right now.
If I could address the board with that, with the setbacks. I do, anytime we do splits like this, it's not just an assumed, oh, this has full value because it's separate. We actually look to see how it's zoned, what the setbacks are, and we actually use, obviously we're not surveyors, so we can't go out there and verify it 100%, but we'll use the aerial imagery and take measurements from the lot lines and see how much buildable area there is within the area that's inside those setbacks. So in this case, it was 25 feet from front and back and sides, and it ended up having about a 5,000 square foot area that you could build in.
So can I ask you folks something? So you went to the bank to sell your property or to refinance or what did you do that for? And they said what at refinancing?
At first, we were on track for an $1,100 house payment. Then they come back and said, no, do you want to add these other 2 lots to that? And we're like, what are you talking about? We didn't know what they were talking about.
Okay.
And we're like, well, we bought it as one piece of property, so yeah, I assume we need to
Keep it as one
keep
piece
it
of
as one
property.
piece of property. And she goes, your taxes are going to go up $300 a month.
For the other,
$300 more a month.
I'm gonna make a motion to put this back the way it was originally, and we have next year or the year before, we can kick it around and see where we want to go. Replat. I don't think you should have to replat it neither. I just think that it should be kept as the way it was, reflective of the warranty deed the day you bought it.
Thank you.
Got a motion, do I have a second?
I would second that.
Got a motion and a second for the discussion.
Can I make a comment? We're not going to put it back all in one tax parcel. The law requires each lot to be assessed separately. We have 3 tax IDs. You can pick a value for those 3 and add up to whatever you want. But we're not going to combine them onto one tax parcel. There's good reasons, and the law being
Here, can I
primary.
change that motion?
With the approval of the second?
I'm willing to hear what he's going to say.
Then what I'm going to do is suggest we do the 3 tax parcels, but the total assessment of the 3 would be equivalent to as it was when it was 1 parcel.
What was it?
What was that?
What was it, Ron?
That's what I'm asking.
For those that are keeping minutes and are going to make the changes, they're going to want to know what value you want on them. The board has to decide.
Okay, what was it?
We had a total value last year.
With the 3 lots.
Do we,
Could you
It
introduce?
was 2 years ago.
it was 2 years ago. So
It's been raised since then.
what number do you want?
The 2
The
years
most
ago?
recent assessed value when that was when it was being assessed as 1 parcel.
So that'd be 2 years behind then.
Yeah, 2 years behind.
248,400.
For all of it?
Yes,
Just talking just the land, I'm not talking
Yeah, he's
about
talking
the
land.
residents.
60,700.
For 1.7?
Yes.
Well, that seems pretty reasonable.
Ron, are you going to want to divide it equally between those? Because obviously you're going to have to give it.
For those that are taking minutes,
Yeah,
they're going to want to know exactly what value on each parcel.
You just want to go one by one, so we're all on the same
That's
page,
the
which
best
ID
way to
number?
go, I think.
Yeah. So if we start with the first one Trevor said, 70125, that way we're all.
I guess you have to figure that based on the lot size.
Well, folks, I'm not against you. I just think they're split and you can sell them different. So I'll probably be saying no, not because you're doing anything wrong, but I just can't do it with
How long does
all
it
of
take?
it in one.
How long does it take to do a revision on the property?
What do you mean by revision?
If I did a revision to make it
Well,
all
if they're
one
not going
piece
to
of
let us put it
property?
into one, then are you going to let us put it into
No,
two?
that's not them. I'm just saying for me, you already have it split and these guys are gonna do a little bit different. For me, you already have it split and I've seen it sold a lot different than where they're going, so, not against,
Split it.
yeah, I know, but it already is, ma'am. So, I'm just saying for me, I'm not in agreement.
And it would,
But you have other commissioners that wanna change it.
Down to the planning office when you're done here. They'll talk about survey and a plat and go through that process.
Do we have the
We don't know.
legal description as it was when they purchased it? The legal description?
Well, the legal description has not changed at all. It's going to be those 3 lots. So we're going to have the Forest View subdivision lot 5, Forest View subdivision lot 6, and Forest View subdivision lot 7R. Like I said, I didn't change that. That's the same.
And
I have-
how are
I
we
have a
gonna base
question.
it?
Commissioner Roskin, or LaCroix.
Okay. I'm square on 126. That's the one that's got the land and the house.
Yep,
Okay. Then you've got a piece of property that has the garage and the property. Which one's that?
they both have garages,
Yep.
5 and
Both,
6.
so they both have garages.
Yes.
70124 has the 16 by 22 garage, the smaller one.
Oh, two fours to 16 by 24.
Less than 400 square feet.
Okay, and 25's got
25 is 28 by 42.
28 by 4. So that makes a difference to me with the size of these garages and the properties to drop in these.
you got land and property on both.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
So my motion would be for the land only on lot 5 and 6 to be 13,250, and on lot 7R, 26.5, and that would total 53,000, which would reflect the way that was assessed when it was assessed as 1 parcel. And then we would add your estimate of assessed value of the garage to each one of those and the house, and that should address each one of those separately.
Can you give us ID numbers? Because I don't have lots.
Yeah, well, how do you got it?
Okay, ID 70125,
125.
recommend assessed value of 13,250 for the land.
Round it.
13.3.
Let's just call it 14,000.
So just a question, everybody else got raised in taxes and you're gonna take these guys back
He's-
for the next 2 years.
He's making the motion, so
Yeah, I'm
Ron's
just
got the floor.
asking him the question.
Ron's got the floor. Let him make the motion, then you can ask the question.
Just ask him to add it in there, Gary.
Okay, well, I want to come up with the 53,000. So to do that, I have to go 13,250 on ID number 70125 and 13,250 for 70124. 70126, my motion would be to assess the land at 26.5, and then we would add the improvements on each one of those assessments to try to, you're going to be assessed for 3 separate parcels, but we're going to go back to the way it was assessed when it was 1 parcel, reflective of the assessed value. I'm not going to say what's going to happen next year, but that's my motion for this year.
So before I second, I just want to clarify that what I'm hearing Ron say, the improvement numbers are staying the same. So the improvement value numbers are staying the same. We're only editing the land value to get it back to roughly what it was as 1 parcel.
Right.
But all the rest of the numbers are staying the
All
same.
the assessed value on the improvements will not change.
I second that.
Okay,
Got a motion and a second. Further discussion?
okay, I see.
So tell me what those totals are, because that makes more sense if you're doing the
Just the
improvement.
land.
Just the
Yeah.
land, yeah.
So the land is how much each? On those 2 parcels of 25 and 24?
What I wrote down was 13,250 on 24, 13,250 on 25, and 26.5 on 26. Did I get those numbers right?
Yes.
Right. So for a total of 53,000, which, if I understand it right, would reflect the 2018 assessed value of the land back in 2018.
I'm not getting it, because your land is 2,400 on the one.
Yeah, so that went up to 14?
Yeah, and you made it higher?
The way I see it, if you don't mind me answering, Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
all those properties were valued at this total number that we're coming up with, but the way they're separating them out, one's lower, one's higher, we're just trying to get it back to the land being worth what it originally was, instead of actually adding about 61,000. I mean, you had a land that was essentially 62,000, and then now it's doubled in price, and I don't think that is
So
right.
it was 62,000, so you're splitting the land cost between 4 and 5?
All 3 parcels, yeah.
31,000, or between all of them?
13,250 on each of lot 5 and 6, and 26.5 on lot 7.
Okay, but then you also, the land on 2.5 is only 2,400 right now. Did you see that?
I see.
Ron?
I did see that, but what I want to do is just get to the 2018
was.
assessed value, and if that's the way we're going to do it, then that's the way, as long as we come out to the 53.5, that's what I'm going for.
53.5 or 53 even?
Or, excuse me, 53 even.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second. Further discussion?
What's the motion?
Specify the value of the buildings, maybe, since
Yeah.
you're talking all different kinds of numbers, so they make sure they get that right.
You do what now?
Specify the value of the buildings on each of those parcels, because you're actually setting the value of the parcel.
Yeah.
And you guys have been tossing around a lot of numbers that just make sure we get the value of the buildings right now.
I agree.
No, and that makes sense. That's why I was clarifying it for seconding, but,
So if we can just
Well,
start with
let's
like
just-
each ID
You
number?
got to do the math then.
okay, you want me to read them out for you? Well, the value of the buildings are right on there, but you want the total for each one?
I'd start out with 24, then go to 125, and then 126 when you read them. Whoever's going to do that.
222.
Is anybody running a calculator? Deb, are you running a calculator for us?
I have the numbers written down if you would like to.
I have, this is what I have. From what you guys tell me whether I'm right or wrong. On 7124, I'm starting out with the lower number. They have, Ron's recommendation was, I believe, 1,400.
13,250.
250.
So 13,300.
1,300,
Don't we have to round up, right? to
Round up.
13,250.
$13,250 for land, and property is 14.3.
For 2021.
Okay,
So you took the
So-
land down from 79.2 to 53, you said? And then you took the parcel, or all the parcels or improvements are 349.
I
So
mean,
you just take the parcels, because he wants the building to stay the same, right? So it's 349, and then you add the 53.
we're on 124, and so that would be 58.6.
Yep.
58.6 for the property, building.
Just
Four-
take
No,
the
no.
13, well, then somebody else do it. Somebody else do it. I'm getting interruptions from three different people.
So
somebody-
70124, I have 13,250 on the land,
There you go.
14,300 on the structures for a total of 27,550.
Yes.
70125,
Yep.
I have 13,250 on the land, 44,200 on the structures, 57,450 total.
57,
57,450.
okay.
Parcel 70126, I have 26.5 on the land, 222,400 on the structures, for a total of 248,900.
So what's the amount of everything, Deb, for that whole parcel? What's
For all of it,
yes, what's it all add up to?
I'm done.
333,900.
So we get 2 garages and a house with.
330,
333,900.
It's pretty cheap.
you get all the numbers, Kara?
Yep, yes,
So is
thank
that your
you.
motion?
That's my motion.
Travis, is that your second?
I agree.
Got a motion and a second, further discussion.
Bottom line is you get 2 garages and a house with a garage for 333. I'm gonna say no.
Any further discussion?
You
All
know-
those-
I was just, Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I get it that it's a house and 2 garages, but you're talking about a 63,000 increase in just 1 year, with no major improvements, and we already know, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, if I heard this correctly or if I heard it incorrectly, if they go to planning and zoning and get it separated into one parcel, that would be the appropriate value once it goes down. It'd be right around that 60, maybe be 67, maybe be 69, maybe even be 70 for the land, but it'd be closer. It wouldn't be 120,000 for the land once they get it broken down back into one parcel. But we're still seeing an increase on the property structures, and I think that's what we're trying to get at, and I think that's what Ron was trying to get at with it, because they got an extra 63,000 added on there. Am I communicating that right? But that's how I'm seeing it, and I think once they get it down to one land, I think it'll even out the right way.
But they're telling us they won't do that.
Nope.
They won't put it back into one parcel.
Who won't put it back?
That's what Shannon said.
That would be our office.
Planning
but-
and zoning.
Planning and zoning would have to.
Planning and zoning has to do, you have to go apply and work through that process, but then get it broken down.
So next year it'll be different if you leave it separated. It'll be separated and they'll go back to their
To the
original,
three.
yes. Or they'll go back to
So we go down
the,
and-
whatever, 3
and do
different
that.
parcels.
Mr. Chair,
Understand.
Commissioner LaCroy.
this was a struggle.
It's been a
You know, and I say that not to be mean or anything like that, but I mean, I got another person that I know of who's in the same situation as you. He's got 3 different parcels, and one he can't do nothing with, and he wants to do the combining because he thinks he's getting taxed too much too. Yes, simpler, go to planning commission, split it down, get it straightened out. and see where those values are gonna end up being with one lot. It may not affect much. I'll tell you that right now. I think right here, I think you're getting some compassion, but I think eventually your property, I think, is worth a lot more than 330, quite personally. But I
Somebody
think
needs to buy it.
the sticker shock that you got from the separation is understandable, and I think that's the compassion you're getting today. That's my opinion, so.
Oh, we thank you all.
Thank you.
Further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No,
Passed 4-1.
good day, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Next on the list is Sam Fisher.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay. My name is Katie. I'm an appraiser assessor for Pennington County Equalization. The subject tax ID is 44450, owned by Samuel and Abby Fisher, located at 24041 Trixie Lane. The assessed value is $749,600. I'm recommending to uphold this value. The subject parcel is 15.37 acres, accessed off of Highway 16, northwest of Keystone. The modern style two-story residence was built in 2015 with 7 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, and a 3-car basement garage. It's 3,718 square feet above grade and has the 1,976 square foot basement area with the basement garage area plus the 572 square foot of finished area. The owner declined an interior and exterior inspection as he felt our data was correct and saw no need for me to come out. The 5 comparable sales that you see all support the value, all except one sold for more than the subject is assessed at, and all are on acreages south of Rapid City limits. The styles of the homes are varied, but all of them are custom-built homes. On the low end, comparable number 3 is on 2.17 acres. It was built in 2008. It's lesser quality than the subject, is smaller, and sold April 24th, 2020 for $700,000. On the high end, comparable 1 is on 20 acres, is 2005 build. It's higher quality than the subject, is a little bit bigger, has 2 detached garages, and sold July 27, 2020 for $975,000. Specifically, what Sam and I talked about on the phone, he feels a 5% increase would be more reasonable. However, the market supports the larger increase that he saw this past year of that 16.6% and the overall value. After reviewing the subject property and the comparable sales, I'm recommending the original 2021 assessed value of $749,600 with $85,800 on the land and $663,800 on the improvements.
Okay. Questions of Katie first?
Did you look inside the home?
No. Sam felt I didn't need to come out and
Mr.
take
Chair.
another look.
She was denied. Commissioner Roskinek.
If I got this right, then the total floor area above grade is 3,718.
Correct.
So if I'm looking at that picture, does that include the drive-in or garage or just the 2 above that?
That's just the 2.
Just those 2? And the total of those 2 combined, 3,718?
Correct.
And what's the access to the top one? Is there exterior stairs or just interior?
Interior staircase.
Interior?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, any further questions of Katie? Mr.
None
Fisher,
here.
go ahead.
I have a handout if that's okay.
Okay.
Okay, I'm obviously appealing the assessed value on, this is my personal residence. I designed the house myself, from the 3D modeling I made, and I built the house myself. I was the general contractor. I framed it, I sided it, I know it inside and out. I thought I'd start, just on the second page there with the statutory code that applies. The statutory code says that the county has to assess properties in a uniform manner. That means that every property you assess, you have to use a uniform methodology, and it has to, if you're going to vary from what's being done, you have to vary for a good reason. So I'm going to talk a little bit today about what I see as maybe some reasons I see an issue with how it's been assessed. Just on the face of it, $106,800 increase in 1 year when there were no changes to the property. When I picked myself up off the floor, when I got the assessment notice, I mean, you guys just dealt with the $60,000. This is $106,800 in 1 year. I called down to the county. It's assessed above its cost value. If they use the cost value valuation, I said, hey, what gives here? And they went back. Katie said she talked to management, and no, they were going to stick with the sales comparison approach. So one of these things is true. The property did not go up 18.3% on the structure in 1 year. I would wholeheartedly contest that. So either last year's assessment was inaccurate, this year's assessment is inaccurate, or you guys should be using 18.3% across the board on all properties in the county. So
Sam, can I ask you something, Sam?
Yep.
When did they build the heliport by your house?
When did they build it? After I moved in.
Okay, and how many years ago was that? Couple?
Yeah, a couple years.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so I know sometimes it's hard to decide against the staff here. I know you see them in the halls. I know it's difficult. I know this is a high-value property. It's really hard to feel sorry for someone that is appealing a $700,000 property. But I hope you can set those things aside and just look at the facts as I give them to you today. Like I said, the county has chosen to use the sales comparison approach. So that's how we got to the value that's $108,000 or $106,800 higher than it was last year. Just up until this point, it's been assessed on the cost value, not the sales comparison approach. When it's appropriate to use the sales comparison approach per the Appraisal Institute for Certified Appraisers is when there's a lot of sales in the neighborhood and that the properties are similar. So basically the county has come back and said, hey, the reason why we need to switch from cost approach to sales approach this year is because there's a bunch of sales and all these properties are really similar. So I feel a little bit like, when you look at these pictures, I feel a little bit like my young daughter's watching Sesame Street, and I'm like, which of these properties is not like the other? Look at the pictures. They're all ranch style. They all have main level living, which you alluded to, Mr. Ross Connect. Ours, master's on the third level, main level living is on the second level, and we have a garage on the main level. All of them, 4 of the 5 used as comp sales are horse properties. I went to the original listings, and they're all marketed as horse properties. We're located on the top of a hill. Definitely not applicable for horse properties. I could go on and on about the differences, but I think just looking visually at them, it would be hard to argue that these properties are all so similar that it necessitates using the sales comparison approach. If you turn to the next page, one particular neighborhood is statistically overrepresented in the comps. 4 of the 5 sales being used are all on Neck Yoke Road. Neck Yoke Road is in a different zip code than I am. Neck Yoke Road is 13 miles driving the short way through Rockerville. And Neck Yoke Road is primarily all, like I said, horse properties. You don't buy in Keystone on the top of a hill for a horse property like you do when you're on Neck Yoke Road. I don't believe that the 4 of the 5 are particularly comparable. I'm just going to, I apologize for the detail on this next page, but basically if you know anything about how the sales comparison approach works is you take the comparable sales and then you make additions and subtractions to those sales in order to try to equate them to the property that's the subject. And there are just a bunch of inaccuracies I found. I'm just picking on comp number 2, but I did find these types of inaccuracies in all of them. But if you look at the picture there, all of the front of that house, from where you leave the driveway to the front, that's all pavers, all landscaped. I have just a concrete pad outside my garage doors. I got zero assessment adjustment. They assessed, I shouldn't say zero. They gave me $2,000 difference for all of that landscaping and paving work versus my property. This property, comp number 2, has geothermal heat and in-floor heat, even in the garages. My property has traditional heat pump. Didn't get any adjustment for that. The detached garage in comp number 2, it's assessed at $106,279. They gave me an adjustment of $58,000, half of what it's assessed at.
So can I ask you, maybe you know, Sam, and Trixie, if you can, and maybe Shannon knows, in airport fly zones, do they discount properties or it doesn't matter? Meaning he has a helicopter business, not too far from his business, from his house. Does that make a difference on their property values?
Depends. How close? Depends on how it would show up in the market. Out at the Air Force Base, you're referring APZ zone. That's a different issue, because that actually restricts what you can do with the property.
Right.
What you're talking about here is a nuisance. We've heard that argument made here at meetings, and in those situations, we haven't found a difference in sale price of properties that are sold for that.
So Sam, have you seen anybody not want to move there or because of and I like the young man's business, but you moved in and we approved his business. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think a potential owner would certainly take into account that an adjoining property is a heliport. I mean, I think that would be taken into account, but I guess the crux of my argument today has to be based on the comparable sales the county's
well,
using.
that too, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I wouldn't buy by someone that had a helicopter business by me if I had kids.
I think there's a lot of people in here.
I'm not saying that I like his business, but I wouldn't buy something like that if I had kids or anything. So to me, that would make a difference on, compared to these nicer houses, to me, that is a variable, so.
The one helicopter business that was already there before the other one moved in is filed with the FAA for 80 flights per day, right by my house. So that gives you an idea of the amount of helicopter traffic. But I'll keep going just for the sake of time.
Sorry, Sam.
No, that's okay. Then I won't go through all this. I mean, you picked a fight with the CPA, so that's unfortunately. The square footages aren't accurate. They use an inaccurate appreciation rate because the house actually sold again right at the end of 2020. All those things hurt in terms of driving up the value of my house in those comparisons. I'll just give you a picture on the next page. Neck Yoke Road is a paved road all the way up. Then you have this paved circular driveway up to comp number 2. I gave you a picture of my driveway. Last night, I knew it was going to snow this morning. I had to shuttle both my cars down to the bottom so that my wife, when she needs to leave to get the kids, she was never going to make it down the hill after a snow. So took her car down last night during the snow. She's going to walk the over half mile down to the car. That gives you an idea of what we're talking for access issues. I got zero adjustment for access difference. But here, I guess on page 9 is really the crux of my argument. That I think that the county was capricious in terms of the sales it selected. I mean, this is just blatantly, this is what I found when I looked into it, okay? You've got 2 sales, they're less than a mile apart, they're by 3 forks. My property is 5694 total square feet, including all the garage and everything, and it's on 15 acres. You've got 2 sales less than a mile apart at 3 forks. One is 4944 square feet on 2 acres. One is 5573 square feet on 4.73 acres. They were sold 8 months apart. The one the county picked to include as a comp and exclude the other one is the one at 4944 and 2 acres, and exclude the 5573 at 4.73 acres, because it would have resulted in a lower value.
What's the difference in those two?
What's the difference?
What was the difference?
I can tell you that if you turn to page 11, I ran the comps on all these, and comp 6 is that one. It would have resulted in a value of 624,000 versus.
They're only on 2 acres and 4 acres and you have 15, Sam?
Exactly. Yeah. But even just between the two, they could have picked one that's on 2 acres or one that's on 4.73, and they picked the one on 2 because it was going to drive up the value. So what I did, I just tried to be as fair as I could. I said, I went through 50 some sales of comparable sized properties in terms of the house size and on land that's of a significant size. So I gave you some additional comps that the county ignored. I went through in detail using the exact same methodology that they used. The per square foot rates are the same, the valuation methods are the same. And if you add those into the valuation of the comparable sales and include all 5 of the ones that they hand selected, which drove the value up, you come up with an average value of 679,781. So that would be my proposed value, $680,000, which is a 6% increase over 2020.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Roskinek.
Sir, when's the last time you purchased this property?
I bought the land in like 2000, it's 2004, but then I built the house in 2015.
2015?
15, yes, sir.
And so your first assessed value was 2016?
That sounds right. I worked really extensively with Kurt back when he was assessing, and we went through in detail all of the things about the house, and it was higher than I wanted. It was more than what I thought it would come in at, but that's ultimately what it was, and I never appealed it.
So what is the assessed value, the county's recommendation for 2021?
750,000 bulb.
750?
Yep.
And what was 2019? Do we got 2019?
663, or I'm sorry, you got it. 642,800.
Yes.
640.
642,800. Yeah.
We had a presentation here about a month ago that the Director of Equalization did. And so we looked at the numbers through MLS, and I can't remember, it's like the market went up 12, 13%. I think our Department of Equalization, their office said it's probably closer to 10. So, yeah, based on the comparable sales, and I don't say anything that's really totally comparable. If you bought your house 2 years ago, I'd say the best sale would be your house, because that house reflects your specific design and the utility of the property, which is going to be a little bit different than the comps that I've seen. And I'll let this go where it's going to go, but my recommendation would be to go the 10% above the last assessed value, which would be information that we extracted from the market.
I got that.
And for the record, when I called Equalization, I said I'd like 5, but I'll give you 10. If we could do 10%, I'd go with that, and we can skip the appeal process. And they went back and said, no, we're sticking with it. 107,000 increase.
So what is 10%?
Mr. Chair.
Again, the board sets the number. We don't like a motion that says 10% over some other number. Pick a number.
So tell what the number is.
They need to get it right.
I got it.
Go ahead, Lloyd.
I'd make a motion to set the value at 662,100. That's with the 10%, so.
So the land would be.
Got a
what?
motion. Is there a second?
Second.
How
On the
much is
second.
the breakdown? What's the breakdown? You keeping the land the
Oh,
same?
you
and
would
the-
have to ask that.
Sorry.
That's what I was gonna ask.
I was going with, Ron said, a 10% increase over the total assessment, so I'd probably give 2% to the land, or 3% to the land, and 7% to the,
Building.
That, or you could leave one the same, and just the difference would just be attributable to the
Building.
you're the
building.
numbers man, could you figure that out for me?
We'll leave the land at Lloyd 79.5, and the difference goes into the, so what would that make the house? Because the land, Deb, was 79.5.
Okay.
No, 85.8, right?
Yeah,
85.8 was the land.
Okay, so the 85.8, I'd put the land at 87.8.
87.8
No,
for the
you're not gonna
land?
take it up.
I would move the land up.
5.8.
Oh, yeah, we're going up total of 10%. 10%'s 19,000.
No, you're coming down. What that number is providing is the 2021.
What was the 2019 assessed value?
The
Or no,
prior,
you
the
wanna
2020
go
value
back
was
to the-
642.8 total.
642.8.
So
Want to go up?
the 20 assessment is what you want to go up from.
Okay. What's the 20 assessment then?
That was the 2020.
642.8.
Correct.
Okay.
But that's for both, isn't it? I mean, that's
Right,
for all of
right.
it?
Yeah, and we want 662.1.
Oh, I see now, 2021's.
So then that adjusted 10% upwards, I get 707,080. You get that, Lloyd?
What?
So what I'm doing is I'm taking 642.8, multiplying it times 110%.
And it comes up with
Oh, I
700.
see the 642.8, yeah,
We made the motion at 662.1, Lloyd.
yep.
And so out of that 707.80, what's the,
Ron, we made the motion at 662.1.
Well, that isn't what he meant to do though, because he said 10% and the numbers don't match.
So
the
you want to
10%.
withdraw your
So-
motion?
That's what
Or-
I'm asking.
You guys want to withdraw your
You
motion?
got a different
yeah,
Yeah.
it's 707.80.
motion.
Will you withdraw the second?
Yes.
Deb, that's you. Okay.
Okay, got the motion withdrawn.
And then what's the land assessment?
85.8,
Yep.
85.
800.
So the residual to the building would be 621,280. Or 621,300.
Is that your motion, Lloyd? 621,800 on the building and 85.8 on the land? Is that what your motion is?
Is that what you're,
That'll come out to 100,000. And I came up with 707.80, $20 difference. If you take the 2020 assessed value, multiply it times 110%, I come out with 707.80. If we round everything, 707,100.
okay, so property would be 621,300 and land would be 85,800, correct?
Yep.
That'd be my motion,
Okay,
What was the structure real quick, please?
621.8.
621.
so the motion is for the land value to be at 85,800. The improvements, 621,300. Total of 707,100. Is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
Got a motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you for your time.
Next on the schedule is Jerry Zepp. And last contact Scott had with him is maybe he comes, maybe he doesn't. But he was supposed to be here at 1, so we're going to assume he's not coming. Scott has a recommendation on it.
Good afternoon. Scott Dressler, Equalization Office. So this property, its 2021 assessment mailed out at $472,100. That's $96,700 for the land and $375,400 for the buildings. My recommendation is no change. I've reviewed the property data with the owner. I was denied a chance for an on-site inspection of the home. Further review of the photos and what we have for the sketch, I actually believe we're short on the square footage for the upper level of the house. However, the sales indicate that the value we have for this year is a good value. So my recommendation would be no change.
So moved.
Got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, we have 4 properties that are coming in yet. Piper told us that he would be here at 2:30. Heidi Bell is going to call at 2:40. And then there's 2 other people were originally scheduled at 2:40. So we're waiting on those. I suppose if Piper comes in before 2:30, we could start, but that's the last word we heard is 2:30.
So Piper and Bell and who else?
Piper said would come in at 2:30. Bell is going to call in at 2:40. And then Ferdinand Marquis and Patrick Dowling were originally planning to come in at 2:40.
Okay.
So we got half hour unless somebody shows up early.
All right, Trevor Abernathy. I am here looking at tax ID 50296. The address is 13248 Tamaha Ridge Road. It sits on top of the hill behind Heiseka Lodge, which is located down Heiseka Road off Highway 44. The assessment is 213.9. This is 59,200 for the land, 154,700 for the improvements, and I'm recommending no change to this assessment. I last inspected this property in February of 2020. This inspection was an exterior inspection only. Adjustments were made to account for the property depreciation, which considered the physical condition of the home. The home is currently listed in our system as being poor or worn out condition, indicating that we are accounting for excessive deferred maintenance. To further clarify, I removed components of the home that no longer contribute any value, like the lower rear deck, and then suppress the value by over $50,000 to account for poor physical condition of the home. There have been some assumptions made as to the interior condition and square footage that was not entirely clear based on the exterior inspection. To address these potential concerns, I requested an interior review of the property for this appeal and was denied. The home was originally built in 1980 as a 576 square foot cabin and is now 1,758 square feet with an 1,172 square foot basement. Per our records, no appraiser from our office has ever seen the interior of the home since the additions were added. This home had at least 2 significant additions since it was built, one in 1999 and the other at some point between 99 and 2013. I would like to note that the majority of the home, around 70%, was built in 1999 or later, making it 21 years old or newer. And even these newer portions are being assessed as if they are older because of the condition. So at this time, my information is based on phone conversations and that exterior inspection, and that's the only information I have. Assuming it's correct, these comparable sales that I have support the value. We've got 5 comparable sales here. The first one is a good comparable in the fact that it's also kind of atypical construction. With this house, it started out as a cabin, had multiple additions made to it. This first house is fairly atypical for the area. It's an octagonal house, but has very similar square footage and finishes, but is a little bit nicer condition for the first one there. The 5th comparable is right next door to the subject. It is a 2-story home that is in better condition, but it is similar size acreage and almost the same location. Comp number 3 is the only sale in the area that I found that was in worse condition than the subject property. This one still sold for $250,000, even though the basement finish was ripped out. It had no heat and no floors.
That was comp what?
Comp number 3.
3?
Yeah.
It sold for $250,000, had no heat and no flooring. Basement finish had been ripped out due to water damage. So with that, all the known issues have already been accounted for in the current assessment. In order to determine if any additional issues exist that affect value, I would really have to review the interior to know what adjustments, if any, I should make. So I'm just recommending no change to that original $213,900. Again, that's $59,200 on the land and $154,700 on the improvements.
Okay.
So,
Go ahead.
sir. Oh, so Trevor, the 576 square feet, it wasn't it's been added on since it sold in 2008, right? It was before then that they added on up to 1,758 square.
It was before then. They had a permit taken out in 1999
Okay.
for the original edition. The other one, I honestly don't know when it was. It was sometime between 99 and 2013.
So they had another addition added on past the sale of it in 2008.
I'm not sure on that one.
Okay. Thank you, Trevor.
Okay, any other questions of Trevor before we move forward to? Okay, please identify yourself.
My name is Charles Piper. I do reside at this address with my wife. We bought the house in 2008. As Trevor mentioned, it was originally built as a cabin. Take this off. We have not added to the home. Home was in extremely bad shape when we bought it. We pay as we go. We've made improvements, maintenance improvements, since we've had it in 2008. The north side of the house, which I know Trevor looked at, I sent you all pictures. I sent Trevor pictures. It's in such bad condition. I have air blowing in the house when the wind is strong. We are in the process of bringing it up to, I would like to see it worth more than this. But my wife and I, as I said, we pay as we go. We don't take out any loans to do anything, to improve our property. My question is, knowing how much it's going to cost to bring the home up to standards that I feel are necessary, I'm looking at $40,000. So to see this kind of a jump, and knowing that the house next to me, which was sold last fall, late last summer, it's in extremely good condition. I know the man who built the house. I've been in the home. It's night and day as far as the condition, compared to mine. I just don't feel, and I don't know all the technicalities of how the assessment works and everything, but when I saw the 15%, when my wife and I saw the 15% increase, it's like, where did this come from? I understand that property values are increasing around here because of the growth of the area. I understand that completely. But this particular property, I don't think it warrants that excessive increase in the property tax. I just don't see it.
So Charles, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Then how are they supposed to know what you're supposed to be assessed for? Because if they come into my condemned house or they come into my house that I'm improving, they need to see that. They need to see that it's in disrepair, and that's why Trevor could lower your assessment, but you're not letting people in your house, so they don't know.
Right. You can
So you're just guessing, and he's just guessing the condition of your house. So in order to get a complete assessment, they need to see the interior of your house, sir.
Does the outside say anything?
It does, but I've had a junky house on the outside till I fixed it up in the inside. So, and then the inside is only needed a couple repairs. So, I'll keep saying, sir, just because the outside of your house looks junky doesn't mean that all those sewer, water, and all those things that make a huge difference. He could see that you have one bedroom instead of 4 bedrooms. He could see that your basement has water damage and he's got to lower it. That's a huge thing for people to become in your house. And so he's doing a guesstimate on what he knows.
Great. So we do have an issue with the inside plumbing. There are many things that we are still working on. We just don't let anybody in the house.
So can I ask you something?
Sure.
We have an equalization hearing on Friday. Would you let him come in and look at your house so we can lower it if it was based on these conditions? And do this assessment or this equalization hearing on Friday because he's seen your house and you could show him all this disrepair?
Is it required by law to have the appraiser come in?
No, but by fair and just, based on what you're saying, we can't just take your word for it, sir. Just saying.
Okay, so the outside of the house, that 15% increase has to do with what?
Trevor?
Market appreciation. And I have looked at the exterior of the home, and like I had mentioned, I have it in worn out condition. And I'm adjusting over $50,000 for that negatively. So if that were to be corrected and put to just average condition, so typical wear and tear, this would be over $50,000 more value on it because of that. So that's what I've taken into account.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner LaCroy.
Without, I tend to agree with Trevor. I mean, I look at the outside and I've cited at least 4 houses. And I think he's being pretty reasonable with 50,000. I see some newer windows that were installed, some decking that could be repaired. Without the knowledge of the inside and the plumbing and so forth, do you have any pictures of the front side?
It's there up
That's
on the
the front
left-hand
side?
corner. Yeah, it's really
That's the
hard to
best
get.
you can get?
It's really hard to get. Yeah,
Okay.
a lot of trees.
Because we see the back
There's
side.
there's a side property, Chris, if you want to go into the documents.
Because we're talking, this is 1,700 square foot above ground, right?
Yes.
Even with after all the additions and so forth, and then there's another 1,100 in the basement. Is that correct? Or lower
Yes, the
level?
basement is 1172. We only have 400 of that finished. So
Only 400 done,
Right.
so-called finished, but you still got
if you want to keep
1,100
going,
square
Chris.
feet down there, say 900, 800 unfinished.
Yeah, and as far as the basement, I mean, when you think of it's a lower level. The house is built on a cliff. If you
Yeah.
have a back picture of it, it's built on piers.
This is part of the front side.
As you can see, there's still soffit work that needs to be done. And Trevor, you said you deducted that 50,000 from if these things were brought into in the line up to par, you would add $50,000 to the value of the assessment.
Roughly, yeah, roughly.
Your house is worth 154.7, sir, and your land is 59.2.
Right.
So your house as is 150,000.
Right.
I
Mr. Chair.
tend to agree.
Commissioner Roskinek.
Now, Trevor, if the market went up, market evidence, I noticed that there was no change in the land, and to me, land is the most solid asset of land doesn't depreciate, it appreciates, so I would have thought there would have been an adjustment upward on the land.
There was. If you go to
$6,000.
the final value tab, Chris.
No, I just thought I see no change.
7,900.
Your no change would be reflective of the 213,090.
Yeah, I'm recommending no change to that. So last year, if you look up there, the land was at 52,300. It was increased to 59,200 this year.
Okay.
I would feel that my wife and I would feel that we would be getting fair treatment if we paid the property tax increase on the value of the land. I understand that, but the value of the home itself, we hesitate to accept this. The value of the land, I can understand.
Well, you need to let them see your house inside in order to get a complete assessment.
I'd have to talk to my wife, and that's probably not going to happen. I mean, we'll have to talk to my wife, but I don't think we're going to.
Well, I think that's the opportunity you have, Charles, is that, as Commissioner Hadcock said, we meet again on Friday. There's an opportunity to get somebody in just to look. Between now and then, we can consider it at that time. If the answer is no, we'll just take action on it today, and I don't know what that action will be, but.
When can you come out? Can you come out today?
It's a little late in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then so I'll make a motion to continue till Friday?
Again,
Will I need to be back in here on Friday?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's either that or
You agree with Trevor?
we're going to basically take Trevor's statement at that point in time is.
You wouldn't have to be back here, but they have to take action on it.
I get you.
Yeah.
So whatever Trevor determines today will be whatever he's going to say goes.
No, he's gonna
Well,
come
no,
back to the
you-
board and the board will make a decision.
You
If
can come back and appeal that too.
Yeah, if you're
Okay.
not happy with what he says, we'd
Yeah,
show up Friday.
I would, if I come take a look at it, if there's any adjustment that I would deem necessary on that, I would let you know. If we're in agreement to that, you would have to show, and I'd make that recommendation to them.
So Charles, when he comes out, show him the disrepair, show him the different things, if there's water damage and different things. That makes a difference because then they know that you are doing that work and he has to adjust it accordingly, that the house is in disrepair until it, like anything, then you can come back and say, okay, he can lower that until you get those things adjusted.
Right. You know, like I mentioned, my wife and I, we pay for things as we go. We don't do the home equity thing. We're just very fiscally responsible that way, and I wish
I see.
everybody was. But yeah, I'll contact my wife. She's
Okay,
out of town
Shannon,
right now.
do we start at 8 o'clock on Friday morning?
Well, that's the way the schedule is so far. Yeah.
Okay, so can we schedule Charles back at 8 o'clock on Monday morning? Okay,
Friday.
so-
Friday morning.
Or Friday, I mean.
Does that work for you, Charles?
I can be here Friday morning at 8.
Okay, so the motion is to continue this, the Christine Piper appeal to 8 o'clock on Friday morning. And I have a second from
Second.
Commissioner Lassiter. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you, Charles.
So we need to save your paperwork.
Yes, sir.
So the appeals that we've got left was we got a phone call coming in at 2:40. And we have Ferdinand, I think I'm saying it right, Marquis, and Patrick Dowling that were all told 2:40. So we're expecting two people in one phone call at the same time, 2:40.
Okay, we'll hear the Dowling appeal.
Dowling, yes.
Where are we on?
Dowling.
Yeah, Derek and
Dowling?
you will be up to the microphone. Derek will introduce the property and then you can address the board.
Thank you.
Thank you for the pictures.
Go ahead, Derek.
Right, good afternoon. My name is Derek Dalen. I'm an appraiser with Pennington County Equalization. The tax ID we are discussing is 33274. And I am recommending that the 2021 assessed value of $189,500 be upheld. The subject property is located at 2734 West St. Anne Street. It's within the city of Rapid City limits, and it is in the Central Boulevard, Meadowbrook School neighborhood. And the subject property was built in 1954. It is 1,100 square feet above grade. It has 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. And the total basement square footage is 858 square feet, and about 50 of that is minimal finished. And there is a 672 square foot detached garage as well to the subject property.
How many square foot garage? 72?
672 square feet detached garage. And so comparable sales to the subject property, they range from year built from 1951 through 1970. And the above grade square footage ranges from 798 square feet to 1,300. Total basement square footage ranges from no basement to 798 square feet. And 2 of the comps have garages like the subject property. The comparable sale number 2 has a 480 square foot detached garage, and comparable sale number 3 has a 426 square foot attached garage. And sales, in the comparable sales, they're similar ranch style home to the subject, and sale prices range from 158,000 through 180,000. And sale dates, they range from May 2018 through August 2019. And again, I'd like to recommend a 2021 assessed value of 189,500.
Derek, is this originally, did you have that at 203,000?
That was originally assessed at 203,000. Mr. Dowling contacted our office after receiving the assessment notice. An on-site interior and exterior review of the property was completed. And after that review, there were some condition considerations taken into account for the house, as well as the detached garage that resulted in that reduction from 203,000 to 189,500.
Okay, thank you, Derek. Any other
Mr.
questions
Chairman?
of Derek first?
Just one, Mr. Chair. Derek, out of the 5 comps, which one would you put the most weight on?
The most similar sale I would consider is comparable sale 2. It is same style as the subject, and it has a 480, excuse me, square foot detached garage. It's slightly smaller on above grade square footage, and it does have basement finish. Like the subject, this home is 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and it's slightly older than the subject.
As a point of interest, the unit
Sorry.
price of sale 2 is 172 a square foot.
Mm-hmm.
The subject is 162 a square foot. And if you take the average of the 5, they're 163 a square foot, just as a point of interest.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Commissioner Lassiter.
Derek, maybe I missed this on some of the other ones, but whenever I look at your comparables, I see your market value says 179, but you're showing 189 on your assessment value. Or at least on the sheet that I have in front of me, it says market value with comps.
Sure.
179.
That market value line, that's different than if you look 3 lines up. There's a market average, and with MRA in parentheses. For the subject property, that 189,500, that's what I'm recommending for the assessed value. And that market value comp select, there is some confusion there with that line, because what that market value is it's the comparable sales, their 5 sale prices, as well as the weighted estimate of the subject property, and the market average MRA number of the subject property. You remove the 2 highest as well as the 2 lowest numbers. That gives you that market value comp select number. So they are different because they are two distinct and different numbers. So I certainly understand the confusion. We obviously talk a lot about market value, but the difference between that MRA and market value number is because they're determined 2 different ways.
Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Any further questions of Derek? Hearing none, Mr. Dowling.
Good afternoon. Well, this started out with, I ended up with a 41%, close to 41% raise to my tax assessment.
Based on what time period?
From last year to this year.
2020 to 2021?
Yes.
Okay.
41%. And, well, it kind of knocked me over. I mean, you kind of get used to the 6%, sometimes 9%, and then you get a 40%. And we talked, and he took it down to 32%, I believe is what it was.
But I scanned the neighborhood, spoke to several people in the neighborhood, and people were very receptive to me talking to them about it. And I came up with several properties that were comparable to mine. And the one was across the street from me, and they just sold the home for $225,000. Their assessed value is 209, which I don't know what that means. Talked to the gentleman across the street from me, who actually has a home that's in a lot better condition than mine, and he's got a 3-car garage. And I talked to him about it, and his assessed value this year, it went from 145 in 20 to 185. Like I said, though, his is a completely different home than mine, quite a bit more home. My next door neighbor, Jane Watts, I don't know what the situation is with that, because her assessed value is 174 this year. And I couldn't understand why hers is, that much cheaper than ours. Like I said, I don't know the situations of the homes. But like I said, I walked the neighborhood, talked to people, looked at homes, asked them how much they had home-wise. And a lot of people had 4-bedroom homes. In reality, I have a 2-bedroom, but because I don't have egress windows in the basement or anything else. But I went to 2723, which is a larger home. It's assessed at 183. Todd down the street, the gentleman I spoke with, he bought his home for 114 5 years ago. His assessed value went to 184. Like I said, I just don't understand. I talked to everyone in the neighborhood all the way down the street, and he told me that somebody had complained about, that their rate went up to 27%, and they had filed appeal. And I'm like, what took mine to 41%?
So, Mr. Dowling,
From what it was.
let me ask you, what do you think the value of your home should be? What do you think the assessed value should be?
Well, my son told me, he's a realtor. He works for Black Hills Realty. And he told me to get it up to where, this value that they're assessing it at, he said, Dad, you're going to have to put 50 grand into this house. Because he looked at the house, and the garage roof is collapsing. The garage floor is, to put it kindly, cracked, and it's got big, spaces in the floor where you could actually see underneath the garage and everything else.
So you're saying the value should be, for the home, should be closer to 140,000 than?
No, I'm not saying it should be that low.
Okay.
I'm not saying it should be that low. I'm just saying that I think 190 is too high. I mean, and initially it was 220 with the 41%. So, like I said, there was a couple houses I ran on the thing, got on the computer and looked at the values of the houses, and they were very, very big homes on Central, but I couldn't get it. Nothing would come up on the homes themselves. What was that? Yeah, the value of my house was 132 in 18, 19, 135, and then all of a sudden it jumps to 220. I was like, wow, I don't understand,
44.
I'm not going to preach the, I'm going to fix income and thing and all that, because my wife, I'm retired, my wife works, but I just, I don't understand such a gigantic jump. I really don't.
Questions of Mr. Dowling?
Mr. Chair.
My only,
Second, Commissioner LaCroy.
Patrick, I really understand what you're saying because I own a property over on that side of the area. Mine's assessed at 220, 230, something along those lines. But in those areas, just as you were talking with the garages, I mean, the ground shifts, that type of thing over in that area. So I think taking into some of that account, I don't know when you bought your property, but yes, I'm just as surprised as everybody else. 2009, some of the prices of the houses were, and they've jumped dramatically in the last 10 years if you go back. They usually do their assessments and finally got around and got things caught up. Personally, look, I was looking at your property. I think it's worth around 180,000, and that's giving you 48.5 for the land and 131.5 for the house. The structures is what I'm looking at. I don't know if you think that's a little bit less than his
Yes,
his.
that is, but
It's a little bit less. I know that it's still quite a bit more from that 144.8, but I think with the way the market is in our area,
oh, believe me, I know. My
I
son,
think
like I said, my son's a realtor, and he says, I guess they're basing everything on what the home sales are going for now.
your house 10 years ago probably would have went for 120, 110, if that. And now they're way more than that. So, I mean, that's what I'm looking at. I'd like to hear what the other commissioners have to say, but if
Is that a motion?
I can make an motion for discussion.
I'll second for discussion.
I've got a motion and a second.
I'll repeat that, 131.5 for structure, 48.5 for the land, which would give you, that comes up to 180,000 total.
Ron, are you next? Are you next?
Yeah, Commissioner Roskinek.
no, I'm good with that.
Commissioner Adcock.
So we just redid a house. It has 3 bedrooms, 1 bath.
2 bedrooms, but yeah,
We-
3
we ha-
bedrooms, I
We
guess.
have 1, no basement and no garage. And before the market went, we probably were going to get 185, and we ended up getting 203. So they're not really basing it. They can't base it, and they haven't been basing just because the market goes up. Because, like I said, they take a 3-year average. They don't take it at the highest average. So I'm in agreement with Commissioner LaCroy because, again, everything was new, but we also only have, and it isn't a big bathroom, and there's no garage,
Well,
no basement.
yeah, well,
So-
I'm, mine's supposedly 1.5 bathrooms, and
Right.
we have a, full bathroom upstairs, but the one in the basement is very, very tiny, and
So-
it's in production. It's
But-
not even
But if you
completed,
put
so-
20,000, 25,000 in the house, I mean, what would that do to the house? I mean, that's going to bring that value up.
Well, I
double.
understand. I understand what you're saying.
Double in the 20,000, it probably went up, it'd bring it up about 40. So I think 180 is just from seeing the comparables and seeing what Commissioner LaCroix said, I think that's pretty fair.
No, we have the original windows in it from the very, when the house was built. And my son told me, he said, Dad, he goes, there's no point in putting new windows in it because the house is gonna, what the market is right now is ridiculous in Rapid City. He said, he's attempted to sell 3 houses in the last 3 days with paying cash and $65,000 to $75,000 more than what they were asking, and he didn't get them.
So I would.
So it's
I would
bizarre.
keep your house at this time, sir, and fix it up.
It's bizarre.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second. Further discussion. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Dowling.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next one we have is Heidi Bell.
Yes, we have an appeal from Miss Heidi Bell. We received a written letter to appeal, and I think we've got somebody on the phone.
Do we have, is this Heidi Bell on the phone?
I'm on the Zoom.
Heidi is on video and Holly, I believe, is on telephone.
Okay, so we have Heidi on Zoom and Holly, I understand, is on audio.
Yes.
Can Holly hear us?
I don't know if she can.
I'm not hearing Holly. Holly is muted, supposedly. Can you unmute yourself?
Let's see if I can send her a text.
It appears that Holly hung up.
Huh. I don't know.
Are you prepared to go forward?
I am.
Okay. We'll ask Shannon to open it.
Miss Bell, my name is Shannon Rittberger. I'm the Director of Equalization. I'm standing at the podium.
Yeah.
We have a letter of appeal from you, and I wanted to clarify first, you can appeal the assessed value of the property, which is market value, or the owner-occupied classification. And we had talked about the owner-occupied classification, and I just wanted to clarify, which issue did you want to appeal?
Actually, I want to appeal.
Can you hear me?
Oh,
Can
okay.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you? Okay, because I tried to push *6 before and it wouldn't let me in. So
Okay.
this is the second time I called back.
Okay, so
Yeah,
Heidi is speaking right now. Holly, we'll get back to you. Thank you.
Okay.
Actually, I'm appealing both, and I can only appeal one. Is that what you're saying?
No, you can appeal both, but I just wanted to clarify which issue you were to appeal. And then we can talk about each issue separately.
Well, let's appeal the first.
What issues are you referring to? What issues are you referring to? Hello?
He asked if I was appealing the assessed value of the house and then the owner-occupied status.
Okay.
And
do you want me to talk on that issue, or do you want to talk on it first?
Well, I told him I wanted to address the issue of the assessed value of the house first.
Okay, so do you want me to join in on that?
I would like
I'm
you
most
to.
familiar with it?
Yes.
Okay. Last year, Director Rittberger increased the value of this house to $207,000. This house went through an appeal hearing, and the appeal hearing basically framed the basis of the appraisal on this house. This house is sliding downhill. It's in worse condition than it was last year. And all parties agreed that it was supposed to be assessed under a Marshall SWIFT guideline, because there's a lot of obsolescence factors to this house that cannot be addressed on a normal real estate issue. So when we went through the hearing last year, some of the issues that could not be corrected is that the house is falling downhill, so it has to be leveled up. And there's no septic system to this house because the septic system has failed. And the keyhole drive that's below the house is designated a 3rd acre. And the keyhole drive to this house belongs part of that 3rd acre. It's been used as an ingress and egress for the neighbors for years, and when they come in and they plow the road, they go into the Keyhole Drive and they back into the rough dirt thing to get up onto the house lot, and then they have to go back down. And the same thing with postal workers. So we don't have use of that keyhole because it was designated as an ingress and egress, I guess, when this property was developed. So the actual building restrictions on this property limit the property to 1/10 of an acre and not 1/3 of an acre. All the surrounding properties here are 2 acres. And so one of the issues that we had raised during the hearing was the value you were assigning this property, because we had actually got approved to install a new septic system here, and it got obstructed. The installation got obstructed. So through tort matters with the person that was scheduled to install the septic system. So when it went to, by the time it went to the hearing, the issue that was raised is the variance that we got from the state, because we have to build a new septic system close to the property line because there is virtually nowhere else to put this septic system without running into additional problems. And so at the hearing, I raised that as an obsolescence issue that was incurable, that significantly reduced the value of this property. So, and that was when Rittberger assigned the value of this property at 207. So we still don't have a septic system. That property, again, is an incurable issue. The sinking of the property is an incurable issue because the back of the lot, when it rains and snows, becomes soupy. So, and this house is on an incline, so it's sliding down. And it's even worse now. You can't even open the doors now. So, so basically the whole thing was argued on an obsolescence issue at the appeal hearing, and the judge, I guess, reversed out of that issue because it didn't give any consideration to the obsolescence issue. It went back to Rittberger's appraisal, which it should not have done because that violated state law. State law is very clear on obsolescence issues that affect properties that are incurable and that depreciate the value of the property. So we had done, when we went through that hearing, we had done a comparison with other homes, actually 2 that was right down the street that was valued at $45,000 because it had an obsolescence issue and it had mold like this house does because of the conditions in the back of the yard. So our whole point was that even at the rate he assigned it last year, he couldn't do that under the Marshall Swift standard by evaluating this property under the correct standard, which had to deal with obsolescence issues that were incurable. And just so you know, that we complained about that increase because that didn't match what the evaluation was the year before, which put us under the freeze rate. And we should have been allowed the freeze rate from the year before. The guy who evaluated it, which was in fact an arm's length transaction, Rittberger was not, because he got involved with the septic issues. So that made him a biased appraiser. And the previous year, they evaluated this property without knowing about the obsolescence issues and the failed septic system and everything else. They appraised this property at $180,000, and that appraiser was picked by the bank, was an arm's length transaction. We had nothing to do with that appraisal value. So we had complained about that as well during this hearing because this is a disabled household. And we don't make enough money to even increase the value above the freeze rate, which we should have gotten last year.
Say Huddy.
And,
Say Huddy.
yeah,
Commissioner Roskinek, Gary asked me
Yes.
to take over. He had to leave, but I hate to interrupt you, but what do you, I don't see a note here that, what do you feel the property should be assessed at?
well, when we introduced that to the commissioner last year, the Hudson Swift, because there's a lot of things that have to be corrected on this house just to prevent it from slipping downhill. And we've got to be able to install the septic system. But we evaluated it at the Marshall Hudson rate, given the valuation that was given the house 2 doors down from us with mold problems, which was evaluated, the house structure was evaluated at $45,000. We came in with a $65,000 figure, but our insurance company didn't even approve the value of this property at more than $125,000.
Oh, okay.
And the bank that we got our mortgage from wouldn't lend more than $107,000 on it.
Okay, so
I think the property should be valued at no more than what the bank would lend on it, and that's without them knowing about all the problems with this property.
and what's that number, Heidi? Give me a number.
$107,000.
107,000. Okay, we heard, your
Yes.
Marshall Swift obsolescence issues. I want to let Shannon speak now on behalf of the county. Thank you.
Okay, so for last year, Miss Telford let myself and Gordon come out and look at this property, and we went all around it through the outside and the inside with Miss Telford. She showed us the property. The home was built in the early 70s, but just before it sold, it had, which was a few years ago, it had some remodel. You can see from the exterior, it's got paint all the way around the outside, and it does have a new roof on it. The inside was remodeled as well. I would say the inside was a low-cost remodel, but there was a remodel on the inside. Ms. Telford brings up several issues that could be big issues. One, the home is sliding down the hill. So we spent quite a bit of time walking around the outside looking for some cracks in the block foundation, and we didn't see any. There's absolutely no evidence that the house is sliding down the hill. We've asked for something from a contractor, some evidence of somebody that has done some study on it. We don't have anything. The house is simply not sliding down the hill. It's a block foundation that's 50 years old now, and it doesn't even have cracks in it. Okay. The other issue she brings up is the septic. She says there is no septic in the house. There is a septic tank and a drain field on the property. She is talking to planning and zoning about putting in a larger septic tank and another drain field, and there would be issues with that placement of that because there already is a septic drain field and a tank on the property. But what's there is working and meets all rules that the state or the county would have. We don't see that there's any evidence.
Your Honor,
that it's.
excuse me, can I intervene on that? Because that's not true.
No.
Heidi, Heidi, I'd like for Shannon to finish, please. Please, go ahead, Shannon.
I'm sorry, what?
I want Shannon to finish what he was saying.
Okay, because he knows that information is false. That septic tank does not even meet state code.
Heidi, let the Shannon
is
speak, and then you can. Thank you.
Okay, so the house is not sliding down the hill. The septic is working, and it meets the state and the county's regulations. We don't have any evidence that there's any problem with the place. It's an older home that has a recent remodel. We have a current value on it of $234,100. That is based on what similar houses are selling for. It's in a desirable location. There are houses out there that are selling for more, but they tend to be newer and bigger and in better condition, so this represents the value of this property. She brings up the issue of a lot, and that's a good example of how it conforms to the neighborhood. She's right, most of the lots out there that have homes on them are about 2 acres in size, and this is less than an acre. So it's smaller than what's out there, and we've made an adjustment for that. The land value we have on this parcel is much less than the land value of other parcels out there. I don't think that there's any issue with the shape of this lot that restricts the use of it. The property is still being used for a home. It's just smaller than what's typical out there. The final point I want to make is she references the elderly and disabled assessment freeze. And there is a cap on the value of your home when you can qualify for that. And this home is worth more than that maximum amount, but the property wouldn't qualify anyways. The property owner doesn't live in the home, hasn't resided in the home for a year, wouldn't qualify anyways.
So the 234-1, that would reflect
That's incorrect information as well.
excuse me, Heidi, I'm talking to Shannon. So the 234-1 would reflect the full and true assessed value under the premise that it doesn't qualify for the disabled?
Well, it wouldn't matter whether it qualified or not. The property's still assessed at market value.
Okay.
The market value of this home is $234,100. I think the assessment is appropriate. If it were to qualify, there would be another value placed in there, but we'd still assess it at market value.
And you're using comparable sales to justify that market evidence?
Yes.
Any questions?
Sir, can I speak again?
Yes, Heidi.
Because the information you've got from Rittberger is knowingly false. The septic tank is not repairable here, and in fact, we recorded the hearing last year. And Mr. Rittberger is very familiar with the state law that requires a septic installed on this property of a minimum of 2,600 gallons. This property has a 1,000-gallon septic tank in the back that's fractured and has not worked for almost 2 years now.
Heidi, can I ask you a question?
Since we moved into this property.
Can I ask a question, Heidi?
Holly is talking. Heidi is on the video.
Oh.
Okay.
Holly?
Holly is talking.
Okay, so my question is, if that septic tank system is faulty, do you have a report from a professional contractor stating that?
The foundation.
Yeah, I actually got a fund from the Western District to replace that tank, and they gave me a grant, and it got screwed up because Rittberger decided, and by the way, Rittberger was on this property 10 minutes. That's it. He didn't go around the property with me. When he got here, he went downstairs.
Holly, you need to stop. Holly, you need to stop.
10 minutes.
Holly, you need to stop beating him up. This is Commissioner Hadcock. You came in last year, the year before, I remember, with the same issues as this falling down the hill and some other stuff. Since then, where's the evidence? Where's the engineers? I'm talking. Ma'am, I'm talking.
Get this property
Ma'am,
at the appropriate value. We will go into federal court and we will ask the federal court.
Can you shut her off for
I make a motion to approve the 234-100.
Mr.
Second.
Appraisal license.
I got a first and a second.
Is fraudulent.
Okay, roll call.
Can we discuss something? I just want to point out something. The reason why I'm seconding and willing to move forward with the current motion is we're asking for evidence, and all we're getting is yelling back from the individual.
Yep.
All we want is physical evidence to show that there is damage to the septic, that it needs to be replaced, and that is something that is what the property owner's responsibility to do if that's what you're claiming is the issue, and the same thing with the slippage of the home. If you're not going to give us that information, but you're going to beat up on staff and on the commission about it and yell and scream at us and not be respectful, then I feel that we should just move forward with the current motion.
Okay, roll call.
Hadcock,
Aye.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Lassiter.
Aye.
Roskinick.
Aye, motion carried.
Now, is there a second home occupied?
The property owner would like to appeal the classification. The property is currently classed as not owner occupied, and Ms. Bell said that she would like to appeal that. So, to qualify as owner occupied, the property owner has to own and occupy the home as their principal residence and have only one property they claim as owner occupied in the state of South Dakota. The property is owned by Ms. Heidi Bell. She lives in Washington State. She provided an application. That's the other part of the qualification. You have to provide an application by the deadline. We got that. She claims that Ms. Holly Telford has a life estate interest in the property, and she is the occupant of the home. And that would qualify as well. We consulted with the state's attorney's office over this, and was suggested that Ms. Bell provide us some evidence that there is a life estate on the home. Typically, a life estate is recorded on the deed. If I live in a home and I want to live in it till I die, but I'm going to sell it to you, I'm going to sell the property to you and reserve a life estate, and that'll be noted on the deed. We've had multiple deeds on this property over the last several years, and none of them mention a life estate. And after requesting evidence of that life estate, we haven't got anything from Ms. Bell that shows us there's a life estate here. So I don't think the property qualifies for the owner-occupied classification.
I'll make a motion to keep it as non-owner occupied.
Okay, do we want?
No, because he received a certification. There's a life estate on here.
Shut her off.
Are you there?
Yes.
Yep.
We're asking for, again, Miss Heidi, evidence-based. Shannon is asking for evidence-based that it is a life estate. You have not provided that at this time, so it'd be non-owner occupied.
I have muted her. If you would like me to unmute, let me know. But otherwise,
Actually, I'd like, so Heidi's on Zoom, right?
Heidi is on Zoom. We can see her.
Heidi, do you want to speak on behalf of the information that our Director of Equalization is asking so that we can help make a motion here?
No, I don't.
Okay, so we're just asking for proof.
If there is a life estate, there should be some evidence of that,
Okay.
and we don't have that other than just saying that.
Okay, with that being said, then I'm assuming that you're making the recommendation that we don't classify it as owner occupied until we get such information.
Yes.
Can I get a motion to that effect?
Owner
He
occupied.
made the motion.
Okay, can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion?
I was just going to say the same thing. You know, I really like, if you're going to tell me this is the situation, I really like to have that evidence, and it makes it easier for me to make a determination. But without that evidence, I can't just rely on a straight word.
Okay, roll call.
Hadcock,
Aye.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Lassiter.
Aye.
Roskinick.
Aye. Motion carried. On to the next one.
On to the next appeal, yes. And that one, Mr. Marquis? Yes, sir. Yeah. I didn't know if I said it right. You did.
Bless you.
Thank you.
There, you two can address the board.
I believe it.
Oh, yeah.
Chris will address the board. You can introduce the property, but stand up next to him. Okay. And then when he's done, it'll be your turn, and they'll ask questions.
That was easier than I thought it was going to be.
I would like to give everyone to whom this pertains a copy of my written appeal. Okay, so if you'd be
I'll
so
hand them
kind
out.
to hand them over to whoever you
And
think.
Chris just handed this out to them, so you get a copy of that. And
Okay.
I'll pass that.
Okay, sir.
How are you?
All right, good evening, board. This is tax ID 18049.
537 Bluebird Drive in the Thunderbird subdivision of Blackhawk there north of I-90 along the interstate there. I am recommending a no change to our value on the property. The property is a 1976 bi-level home, no garage. It has a partially finished basement. We are taking into account the exterior condition of the house. We have it in as badly worn condition from a reappraisal that was done a few years ago on that neighborhood. And the main concern on the property is a water drainage channel along that goes between this property and the neighbors that runs north-south and then turns east. And the owner has said that the water from the north end, he bears the brunt of that water that comes in from the north there in that drainage, and that is causing issues with his property. And I asked if there's any issues with it and if I could see that, and I was denied an interior inspection on the property. And the owner said that he does fix the issues that come, if there's any issues with water damage, he does fix those, and that there are also 3 sump pumps in the house. And the drainage ditch in Blackhawk there, if the drainage ditch is on private property, the city does not maintain those. As it is on private property, they do not have the right to go on there and maintain it or do any improvements to it. And that was told to me by Bob Kaufman at the Box Elder Public Works Department. And the property is one of the lowest valued properties along that drainage route. On that map there that I handed there to you, I highlighted that drainage route. And his is, I believe, the 3rd lowest assessed valued along that route. And so since we are already taking into account the exterior condition of it, it is one of the lowest ones. Doesn't have a garage, so it's pretty low valued there. And
Chris, does he have a basement?
yes, he does have a basement. It is partially finished.
Okay.
All right, and so then I'm recommending no change to our value of $157,900. That's $36,300 on the land and $121,600 on the structures.
One more question, Chris. You've never been in the house?
Never have, and I don't believe anyone in our office has.
Okay, so I'll say the same thing. Evidence-based, if you have 3 sub pumps, then you're proving your case. So letting him in your house to see the 3 sub pumps, and that tells me you have a drainage, because I have properties over here that have sub pumps. It shows and it proves that you have a drainage problem, sir. So letting Chris or your equalization person in your house is only to your benefit.
Very respectful, madam. The sump pumps have 2 outputs. He went there and he saw them, and he agreed that we have a drainage problem.
Right.
This drainage problem is very well documented in this report.
Yes, sir.
By the city of Box Elder, June 20, 2017, June 12, 2017.
But, sir,
Okay.
to be respectful to you back,
Yeah.
if he can't see the water damage and just see the sub pumps from the outside, you can actually prove, sir, that you do have, and you should be lower than that based on the damage that it's doing to your house. I mean, you see what I'm saying? So I'm asking you why, bottom line, why haven't you let him in your house?
Well, the issue that we have in here is that the house is now occupied by tenants, and we cannot go into the house without their consent. It's a family with a lot of kids.
As landlord, then you just have to ask the tenants and make a date and a time, right? Because I'm a landlord.
Madam,
Yes, sir. You're very kind.
you are dealing with an ideal situation, madam.
Okay.
I have cases that even with a case in court, I would have to wait till there is a sheriff.
Okay.
He needs to speak into the mic so we can
That
hear you.
that is go there, and the sheriff can only go then based on a court order. So what you are suggesting, madam, it's wonderful, but it is in a world that, frankly, very respectfully, It's not
Talk-
the ideal
talk-
world.
Yeah, continue.
Or at least it's
Okay.
not the world as I recognize it to be here
Okay.
in Rapid City.
Thank you.
Okay.
Marcus, can I
Yes.
ask a question? When did you purchase the property?
Yeah.
When did you purchase this property?
This property was purchased in 2002 by $57,000.
2002?
2002.
Okay.
So, yes.
My other question would be, and I'm assuming that we're using comparable sales that sold out in that area. Would those
Yep.
comparable sales be impacted by this area in this?
That whole area, as you may know, also has low water table and throughout the whole area. So all those sales in that area would be impacted by that, and the majority of those houses have sump pumps. That is helping mitigate those issues. So those sale prices would reflect that issue being taken into account already.
And then my question, Marcus, would be, in 2020, your property was assessed for $137,400. Did you come in last year to appeal your assessment at $137,400?
It was too late.
Too
When
late?
I received the communication, it was too late to appeal. And they say, you can only appeal this year.
What was the property assessed at in 2019?
Property was assessed at 125,000.
125?
Yes.
You realize that even properties that have issues still go up in value similar to properties that don't. I mean, it's just inherent that when the market reacts, especially the way that the market has reacted in the last 18 months, our county assessor has evidence to show that every property on an average went up 10%. Realtors will say that it even exceeded 12%. So I'm just looking at the 137.4, and if I increase that by what I call a conservative 10%, I come up with 151,140. I'm not sure without actually seeing sales how we got to the 157.9, but I'm assuming that there's some market evidence out there to support that.
Yes, and there are sales that do show that, and they do sell for more than this property. That's the thing, that his is in worse condition than those sales. So, and those sales are selling for around 175-ish, give or take. It also depends on if it has a garage, sells for a little bit more. And so with his value is being taken into account that is a partial basement and the house is in rough condition on the outside. So after looking at sales, I feel that our value, 157, is a fair value given this condition.
Oh, go ahead.
May I?
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Very respectful. In the last, 3 years, the property value went up $65,100. And I completely agree with you, Mr. Vice Chair. I mean, cities and counties need funds to do what they need to do, and this is achieved through payment of taxes. And I'm very glad and delighted to do so. But I would like to do so in a situation that is both fair and equitative. Okay? So, last year alone, it went up to 20,500. It is in my written appeal to you, sir. Okay? And very respectful, what Mr. Mooney has just said, okay, is completely not true. And I am qualified to say so. But you do not need to take my word for it, sir. That's why I bring you this report. These are a team of professionals, okay, that assess the situation of the neighborhood. And if you be so kind to take a look at the page 2 of my appeal, okay, you see that the drainage of the entire neighborhood converges on my property. Okay? So you see these drainage channels, you need the requirements and specifications for these drainage channels, and they converge in position 2. So they come from south and then to the east, okay? And my house is in that position called C as in Charlie, S as in Sierra, A4, okay? So the only house that just gets to bear all this drainage situation is my house, okay? Because the drainage converges from the south, coming from the north to the south, and stagnates there. Stagnates, you know. I took Mr. Mooney there, very kind and respectfully. He saw the water levels, okay, on those drainage channels that are completely plugged. They
Mr.
have
Mar-
trees
Mr.
growing on
Markey,
it.
let me stop you for a sec.
Yeah.
So I see you have basically a drainage issue that they have out there, but you're not letting them show the 3 sub pumps and the evidence base that your property inside is having those issues. For me, if he doesn't have evidence based on the outside and not showing damage or anything that your property, hold on, is not worth less, then it's very hard to say that he can tell based on the outside because of 3 sub pumps. 3 sub pumps is a lot of sub pumps in a house, especially this size. I mean, we have like one in a huge house that we have right on the corner over here.
I have three, two,
That's what I'm
two,
saying.
two.
But based on evidence based, just because he saw on the outside doesn't mean what's happening on the inside. So for me, for him to be able to prove what you're saying, that there is issues and it should be less. I'll keep saying this to people. It has to be evidence based, just like we told the lady in just a minute ago. It can't be because you have a study. He has to see the inside of your house to see if he needs to assess it lower based on the damage. He can't see the damage inside your house by looking on the outside. So for me, in order to lower this assessment, he needs to go in your house, sir. So for me personally, I'm not going to lower it until he can use the evidence base to do it, sir.
Madam,
Yes, sir.
respectfully, I already told you that he saw the pumps, the outputs of the pumps when he went there. He saw the drainage situation, okay?
Right.
And the drainage situation is very well documented here.
But the inside of those sub pump houses that I have, sir, Mr. Markey, some of those sub pumped houses are very good inside, and some of those sub pumped houses have to have a second foundation on them, and they have issues. So in order for him to prove that those issues are happening in your house, he needs to have evidence based. He needs to go inside and see what damaged that. I'll keep saying that just because the sub pump doesn't prove anything, because some of my houses have sub pumps and they're good, and some of those sub pumps or some of those houses, the foundations are cracking. So he has to be able to see in there.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Mr. Commission, respectfully, I completely disagree with you.
Okay. And
But
I'm
I
good
do
with that.
respect your opinion. Okay?
And yours too.
And this is the second time that I have the displeasure of talking to you in this room. And I do sincerely hope, very respectfully, that the other members of the county board, the other commissioners, are more objective and more fair than you are.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, and I do not think that this is an incident.
Yeah.
I am lost left as for the last. And there are already 2 commissions, 3, two or 3 commissions that are not there.
One. He had to go to a meeting, our chair.
Okay.
And he's only missed this one.
Madam, did you take the time to read my written appeal?
Yes, and I also looked at the drainage stuff because I do a lot of infrastructure stuff and I own houses with drainage, sir.
So when I came to the board, Mr. Mooney said that the situation was with Box Elder. I went to Box Elder and talked to Jeremy Washington, and he said, no, we don't have anyone that is qualified to appraise properties. The issue is with the county, so you have to go back to the county. I came back to talk to Mr. Mooney, and he said, I want to go to the property and see this drainage problem, okay? Because we are not discussing the size of the home, we are not discussing, whatever inside the house. We are discussing the problems created by the drainage. You went there and he recognized them. And he said that he had talked with the Public Works Director in Box Elder, okay? And he said, as he stated here just today, that the Public Works Director in Box Elder recognized the problem, but he said that the owner has to resolve it.
So can I ask Chris a question, Mr. Markey?
Can you
Well,
let me finish?
I'm sorry.
I let you finish.
I'm sorry. I apologize. Go ahead.
I think I deserve the same right.
Go ahead, sir.
Although I know you very well.
Okay.
And I would ask this county members to not count your opinion on this matter.
Wow.
Because I have faced you before. Yeah? So
on evidence-based.
So
Yes.
I called the Public Works Director of Box Elder,
Yep.
Mr. John Curtis, and he said that he had no conversation whatsoever with Mr. Mooney. So Mr. Mooney is developing a situation when what he's saying is contrary to the facts.
I can speak on that. I talked to Mr. Bob Kaufman at the Public Works. And in conversations like I said earlier, yes, he says that they cannot do any maintenance, any improvements on drainage that's on private property. They have to be given permission or have rights to do that. And the maintenance of that is with the property owners.
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Can I?
Was it Lloyd?
Yeah.
Lloyd, go ahead.
How do you pronounce your name? Fernando?
Yeah, Fernand, yes.
Fernand. I appreciate how respectful you are up here. I look at this situation and I have emotion. And I was working some numbers, but I've changed my mind on it throughout the conversation. Quite frankly, you got a lot of the drainage. I've read through a lot of that stuff. That comes down to, that's more, to me, a civil matter than a city or a county, unless it's our infrastructure or something along those lines. I respect that you have this understanding. You're concerned about the drainage. You went through a lot of work. That's a lot of work what you did, and I respect that. I think you brought light to the situation out there. But the point is, you're still renting the place. The other properties are still selling at the same amount that they were in the bottom line. And those are some of the things that I, as a commissioner, have to look at. It's the deeper problems that you're talking about. As I said, I think some of them are civil and so forth. But as far as what your property is, 157.9 for your property in this area, this market, is, I would consider it more affordable housing for our area. It's under, what is the average, 230 now for average home?
Affordable housing and
Not affordable, but the average sell is 230.
175 to 225 is pretty much where somebody wants to buy a two-bedroom home in Rapid City or the area. It's probably going to be close to 175 to 225 now.
And if you were to sell this house, it's an investment property. It's gone up 300% since you bought it. So, I mean, you made good money on top of it. And none of that means anything. It really does. I'm a property investor also, so that's why I brought that up. But as far as what's in front of me right here, right now, I do think that is a fair market value for your house. And I hate to, I was ready to start lowering and doing the 10%, but you know what? Then I'm just kicking the can down the road because you're going to be back next year because we're gonna bring it back up to the market value, and we're gonna end up having this conversation again. I'd rather keep it at the market value, and maybe it won't be such a bigger jump next year. You know, maybe the market's gonna slow down, maybe it won't, but those are my thoughts.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
question
Travis.
so Chris, just out of curiosity, since you haven't been able to look at his home, if you were able to go inside and look at that home, it's possible you could find stuff that would justify lowering the value of the property. Is that what I'm understanding? It's possible?
Possible, yes.
And if he's willing to allow you to do that, talk with the renters that are there to get that done, that is something that would make it easier for me to easily come up with a different number that's lower if we can justify the reason to do that. Just for conversation purposes.
Sir,
I just got a couple of questions, and I'll let you have the floor. You say you rent the house, right?
yes,
Do you have to lower the rent because of this issue?
yes.
How much do you have to lower the rent?
Well, when I rent a property, or when I sell a property, I'm an honorable guy. So if there is, an issue with the house, I declare that house as an issue, So I tell the renters that they benefit from a lower rent, because of these issues, and that this may mean that they may experience flooding with a certain frequency depending on the weather conditions at that specific year, in the house.
You know, I don't deny that. I think that whole area has issues. Your area could have the most severe. The bottom line is what we're looking for is what our county assessor thinks the property would sell for on the open market, taking into consideration the issues out there relative to the drainage, and using market evidence, using sales that I assume sold out in that area. They're coming up with 157.9. I don't see anywhere, what were you thinking that the property should be assessed at?
Very respectful, Mr. Vice Chair. If you look, at my request, I was requesting that the property value be left at 125. It was last year before. That was my request.
What was that number?
125,000.
125?
But last year assessment, sir, was 137, and when I received, I was out of town, I did not receive the communication from the assessor's office, and when I came to appeal, it was too late. So I was told, please appeal next year, which is this year. So I completely agree with you, Mr. Vice Chair, that, an increase in the property value can be reasonable, but they're talking about, you said it, I'm quoting, Mr. Chair, 10%. Now we're talking about increments of 37%. I mean, that's unfair. That's unfair. And I think I see no reasonable way or no reasonable justification for that. I believe that in any situation, we have always to do and behave in order that all those concerned, get the most benefit from what we do.
You know,
Mr. Chairman,
I'm a person that is all about compromise. I think the 125 is way too low. I appraise real estate for a living, and I just think that's too low. I appreciate you wanting to bring that to the table, and I'm open for compromise, but I think we've heard a lot of testimony here, and either a compromise or a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I just have one quick question.
Go ahead, Travis.
You were going down a route a while ago, and I'd just be interested if you're willing to share, Mr. Ferdinand. What are you renting the place for right now?
It's close to $1,000. No?
Close to what?
Nothing at all.
Close to $1,000.
$1,000 a month?
Yeah.
not 1,100?
I am too open to a compromise, Mr. Chair. So,
Mr. Chair, I got a motion.
Go ahead, Lloyd.
I come up with 151,400, and you're gonna ask me what to break it down.
Okay, so
I was
the
trying to
motion's
deter-
151.4?
Yes. And I was trying to break that down to, the land is 36,3. What do you have for, is that what you got for this year's
Yes, that's
36?
the land value, yes, it's 36.3.
Okay, so I'd leave the land value at 36,300. So you minus 36,300 from 151,4, and that
Like
would be my
115.1?
structure.
I think it's 115.1, but check my math because I did it in my head.
The way I come up with that number, folks, I was trying to, I didn't have the land value previous, but I was doing what you said with the 10% and off the previous year. So that's what I was trying to come up with.
So the motion's 151.4, 36.3 for the land, and 151?
Is that what it comes up to?
I got 115.1 for the structure and then 36.3 to come up.
115.1
But
for the
double
structure.
check me with the calculator.
115.1 for the structure, 36.3 for the land, for a total of 151.4?
Yep.
So we got a motion. Do I get a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
I'll be in disagreement to it because it's for $1,000 a month. I got properties bigger than or smaller than this and get 1,000, but
Okay, well, I got a motion and a second for 151.4. Roll call.
Hadcock,
no.
LaCroy,
Aye.
Lassiter,
Aye.
Ross Connect.
Aye. So
Three to one.
we went to 151.4. It's probably not what you wanted, but it was a compromise.
may I have the privilege of asking you what you think can be done to this property, and which responsibility is to fix the problem? Because, very respectful, sir, every city or every county have a code enforcement. So if I, as a property owner, do not behave as I should, I get a note from the code enforcement and say, you take care of this. And if we don't, we'll take care of it ourselves and we'll bill you for that. Okay, so this is a serious, critical problem. And it is not my opinion only, sir. It's the opinion of these professionals that did this report.
And
Who
that's
did that report?
but that report does not tell us what your property's worth. What we're trying to figure out is what the assessed value is, and without this gentleman being able to get in your house, that is.
Yes, sir. Very respectful. I think we are having a little failure in communication. The property value was already set at the value that it was carried out by the motion that was approved. Now, I'm now asking you, as a member of the county, okay, what can be done to resolve the problem? That's not a situation of assessing.
Okay, so you're asking me what.
I am not creating any controversy to the value that the board, assessed, the 151,400. Okay, I'm asking you as a professional, what can be done
Okay, what can be done relative to the drainage?
to resolve the drainage?
And what I would do is I would reach out to the folks that know a lot more than me, and I would be going to the Boxelder Public Works and sitting down with them as a county official, talking to the city officials, and try to see where we could go from there.
I appreciate it.
It's a lot to digest, just sitting here at a dais.
I appreciate it.
And I'm one of those guys, I like to go to the property, I like to look at it and smell it and sniff it. And right now, just based on the information I got, I think we did the best that we could under the circumstances.
And this is what it's all about, is that people join together to resolve issues like that. So if you can provide any help.
Actually, we're working fairly closely with Larry Larson, the mayor of Box Elder, and and I've got to know some of the public works, and so I will take this report, and I will mention your case here today, and we will certainly, I personally will look into it. Don't know if if we're going to come to any permanent solution, but I will personally take this report and show it to their public works department.
Thank you very much, sir.
Have a great
Appreciate
day.
it. Yeah, thank you.
So we have another meeting Friday, so you're not going to adjourn.
Nope.
Okay.
Just
Motion to recess.
We just go into recess, but.
Yeah, I guess we can recess. But do we have packages for Friday, or?
Yes, I'm handing them as soon as you recess.
Okay, that's more what I was trying to get at there.
So we don't know how our schedule's going to go, but we do know we've got an appointment at 8 o'clock unless Trevor and him come up with something different. But Trevor's out to look at the property, and if he still wants to argue, we'll be 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock on Friday.
Yeah.
First of all, thanks. That was very respectful to drop everything you're gonna do and go out and look at that property
Oh,
today.
we do that almost every year. We'll do that.
You know,
Yeah.
it reminds me of me because during lunch break, I went out and looked at Sharon Lake Road. And I gave up a half hour of my lunch, so that's just the way the county works. Motion to recess?
Move to recess.
Second? Roll call?
Oh, gosh. Sorry, Hadcock? Yeah, I don't think it does, but
Okay.
if we can, if you want.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay, let's go.
time to recess.
Let's go.